rock star. You can find me in VIP, all eyes on me. Yeah, where the girls are, this is how your night should be.
All right, all right. Welcome everybody to Gogotalx, brought to you by Gogotalx. As always, I'm your host, Malachi Johns. If you're on Instagram, please jump over to youtube.com/Gogotalx. You can see my much more handsome counterpart, my good friend Teebone over here with his fancy new haircut. So make sure
What's
you head
up,
over
man?
to make sure you head over to youtube.com/Gogotalx. And because I have the headphones in, you won't be able to hear him if you're on Instagram. So make sure you head on over to youtube.com/Gogotalx and you can hear and see T-Bone of the legendary Trouble Funk on the other side of the call here. T-Bone, welcome,
Hey,
sir. How are you?
right? I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I'm hanging tough, man. Living my
That's
life, man. Yeah.
that's good, man. Well, first I want to thank you for being so supportive of this show thus far. I'm glad we were able to get you on. We were all set and ready to go for a great interview, and then a whole bunch of dummies stormed the Capitol, and so
Right.
we had to reschedule. So I appreciate you being flexible with the rescheduling. Again, well, there seem to be a whole lot of people on Instagram right now. But if you're on Instagram, head over to youtube.com/GoGoTix and you'll see the other side of the conversation. Before we get started, T-Bone, I just want to let you know, if I haven't already, that you are by far and now and have always been one of my favorite people in go-go. I just
Okay.
appreciate the fact that uh, humility is a trait that runs in fairly short supply in our genre, and you are full of it. And I appreciate full of humility for anybody that didn't catch the first part of that. He's not. He might be full of something else, but I don't know. But but no, man. I just want to appreciate it every single time I have encountered you. It has always been a positive and delightful experience, and I just wanted to let you know that before we go any further. Thank you so much for being a bright, shining light in our genre.
All right, man. That's me. That's my personality.
Yeah,
Like I always
yeah.
tell everybody, if you ever see me mad, it's your fault.
There you go.
That type
That's
of
what I'm
guy I
gonna
am.
start saying.
Yeah.
It'll be a lie when I say it, but I'm gonna start saying it anyway. Well, thank you again for joining us today, and let's we'll start this off the way we start all of them off. We got Wiley Brown, Chuck Brown's son on Instagram. Wiley, head over to YouTube. YouTube, yeah, yeah, head over so you can hear T-Bone. YouTube.com/GoGoTix. Let's start off with how you got started in music and go-go.
Okay, my first band I played with was called Triple Threat.
Well, let's
Um,
back up before that. How did you even start on an instrument, and why did you even want to start on an instrument?
well, I started an instrument in the third grade. I was playing clarinet.
Okay.
I learned to read music and uh, learned to play clarinet in the third grade, and that was the first instrument I learned to play. Um,
Hmm.
while I was playing that instrument, I this is how I learned to stop reading music and to play by ear because I noticed one day I lost my book and I couldn't read the music. So but I had memorized this first song, which was Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I noticed that whenever I played Mary Had a Little Lamb without reading it, it sounded different. I noticed that it sounded different whenever I played it from my ear.
What
So
what was what was different about it? Do you remember?
it was a different field that I played. I didn't play it with the count. I played it the way I wanted to play it.
Hmm.
Instead of reading it and playing it like it was written, I played it the way I wanted to play it. So the feel and swing and everything was different. You know,
Gotcha. Colored
that's why I
outside the
got
lines
started
a
with
little.
music. Right, right. And also my father was a vocalist with a gospel group, And I used to hang with him every Sunday. He used to broadcast down at WST every Sunday morning, and 10, 11 years old, I was right with him, in the studio, taking in all of that, just getting that knowledge, and that's
WUSC for all you young folks is now the 930 Club.
right, right. And that's why I started to trying to play every instrument. I tried to play lead guitar. My fingers were too big for lead guitar. I tried bass. I couldn't master the bass. I bought a set of drums, and the drums was something that I kind of picked up. I learned to play the drums, get the coordination to play drums, and I could play drums, but I still wasn't a drummer. So
Hmm.
from that point on, I once I learned to play the drums and be able to keep a beat, um, I was working at Swartz Brothers. It was a record distributor back in the day, where they distributed all the records in D.C. all across the United States. And this guy had just started working there. A guy named Russell Dent. Actually, he's Cato's cousin, Cato and JB's cousin. And him and the lead singer from the band came in one day, and they were talking about music. And I just happened to ask him about was he in a band? He said, "Yeah, I'm in a band, man." And we got into a conversation. He said, "What you play?" I said, "I play drums a little bit." He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Man, our drummer messing up, man. Why don't you come on by tonight, man, and let me hear what you got?" I said, "Okay, I'll do that." So I went on
That seems
by
like
and
that seems like a familiar story. The drummer's always messing up. It's always the drummer.
yeah, yeah. But the point is that when once I got to playing the drums, and then with him, it was just me and him there at first. And then when the drummer came in, he saw me playing the drums. From that point on, they had no more trouble out of him because he saw somebody else playing drums. Even though I wasn't, I really couldn't play drums. I really wasn't good.
I wish
So
I could remember who it was because all of these interviews, although they're great, after I do them, they all blur together, and I can't remember who said what. But somebody had almost exactly the same story that they were brought in to play drums, and the other drummer, the original drummer that was screwing up, came. I want to say maybe it was E Time from CCB. I could be wrong, but that's
mhm.
hilarious. That's such a go-go thing, I think. But maybe it's not. Maybe they
so
do it in other genres. But
yeah, so
go ahead.
this is triple threat. So
Okay.
from they sitting around. I was sitting around and they started rehearsing. And I was just sitting there rehearsing. And they had a conga drum sitting in there. And nobody was playing the conga drum. And I was like, man, they got a drum here, but nobody's playing it. But the guys that I hung out with uh, while when I first started playing drums, um, the guy that played congas in that band, he taught me how to play conga drum. And back in the '60s, there was a conga drum in everybody's house. Everywhere you went, there was a conga drum. So you learn how to
Okay.
play conga. And plus, he would always take me up to Malcolm X Park. And that's where I really learned to play it. So
Hmm.
because up there, they have their drum circles. And
Hmm.
you get on the drums and you play. And it was no ego thing. And after you got through playing, all the masters would walk around and tell you what you was doing wrong, and they would teach you the correct way to do that. So anyway,
Okay.
uh, they was practicing. They was playing a song, and I'm sitting next to the conga drum, and I just grabbed it, put it in between my legs, and I just started playing it. Along with what they were doing it.
So this was the drummer that you had scared straight was playing the drums, and you were playing the conga drum. So you
I
still
was
were
playing
there
conga. I was still
even
there.
after
Yeah,
you
I was
scared him.
after they started rehearsing. I was there before the rehearsal started.
Gotcha.
Just to sort of like let the keyboard player hear me play.
I got you.
So while they started, he introduced me to everybody, and while they were rehearsing, I just grabbed a conga drum and I started playing. You know, and next thing I know, everybody had stopped, and I looked up and everybody looked at me and just said, and the lead vocalist said, "Hey, you play that?" I said, "Yeah, I play it. I play a little bit." He said, "What?" He said, "What you doing?" I said, "I ain't doing nothing." He said, "Can you sing?" I said, "I can sing a little bit." you want to be in the band? I said, what? He said, you want to be in the band? You can play that, man. You know, anybody playing it, it's just sitting around. I said, okay, no problem. You know, and that's how I started playing with Triple Threat. Um, Triple Threat became the house band at the Ebony Inn. Uh,
Okay.
we were the house band. Actually, Chuck Brown. Chuck Brown got us in the Ebony Inn, and this is where I met Chuck Brown.
Mhm.
And he got us in the Ebony Inn, and we played in the Ebony Inn for I think maybe like 68 to 73, somewhere around like that. It was the house band, you know. We played every Friday and Saturday. I never forget it. $37.50.
Wait,
37.
so from 69 to 73, Triple Threat was the house band at the Ebony Inn, and you would make $37.50?
$37.50. $150 a night. $300 for the weekend. It was 8-piece band. You know, it was 8-piece band. And we got $37.50 a night.
Wait, for the whole band or for each person?
No, for the whole weekend. For the whole weekend.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Everybody we split the $300 down the middle, 8 pieces, you know, and everybody got $37.50.
Oh, wow.
Money really didn't matter to me because I was, you know, I always had a job, you know, and it was the
Well,
fact that I was on stage.
that's what I was gonna ask, because I never got, I don't think I ever got paid to play in a band until I started playing for Northeast Groovers in like the end of '99, and I started playing go-go in '95. I think so, like 4 years. I mean, I wasn't here the whole time. I went away to college or whatever. It never even occurred to me that I was supposed to get paid. I literally saw people coming into the club paying money to get in there to come see us play, and I never ever was like, I should get some of that money. It just never even occurred to me. I just was having so much fun that I was just like, all right, cool. Yeah, let me
Yeah,
play.
I really enjoyed what I was doing too, but, you know, I also knew that, you know, um, once you started getting paid, you was deemed as a professional. So, you know,
Right.
in my head, you know, professional not working for nothing, you know. So, no matter what it was, if it was $1, $2, you know, I wanted it because it was mine, you know. So, you know, like I said though, that money wasn't important to me because I had a job, you know. So,
Right. Were you still working at the record distributor at the time?
no, at the time, I had left the record distributor and I was working at Dart Drug. I was working in the
Okay.
warehouse at Dart Drug. From eventually from the warehouse, I became a tractor trailer driver. I drove tractor trailer for Dart Drug. And this is all the
So,
time that
so
once
real quick
struggle.
about the, I'm sorry, real quick about the record distributor. Did you get the job at the record distributor because you had an interest in music or the record business, or just because it was a job? And
It
what
was
were
just
you
a
doing
job.
there?
It was a job opening. You know, I went and applied for a job and I got it. You know,
Gotcha.
I
And what
didn't
were
know
you
what
doing?
I was a receiver. I was a
Okay.
receiver. You know, I got to see every hit record that came in, you know, and watch it all go out. You know, I got to see all of that. You know, how quick all that happened. You know, watch Stevie Wonder talking book come in, tractor trailer, 2 tractor trailer loads of it come into the warehouse and go right out the shipping door. Never hit the floor. Never went on the shelf. It's the
Wow.
same way with Crosby, Still, Nash and Young, the Deja Vu album. That was one of the biggest albums that came through Schwartz Brothers. That album
Wow.
came in. It was the same way. Tractor trailers would drop it off, 22 skids on it, like 50 cases on each skid. Come in, get shipped right out. You know.
So Schwartz Brothers is what you probably would refer to as, back in those days, as a one-stop distributor, right? So they're like
Yeah,
a
South Street,
regional distributor.
right? Along with they also own Zamaski. You know,
Okay.
so they did it all the distributed in on the East Coast area. You know, they did some shipping out to the West Coast too, but I think they were like a not yeah like they controlled everything in the states. You know, they did a
Gotcha.
lot of shipping. They were the distributor. Red Source Brothers was the
Gotcha.
distributor. You know,
So did working there was just strictly a job? Like, it never even I'm just asking selfishly for my person because I think if like I always wanted to work at Tower Records. They would never hire me. I always just wanted to be in the record business some type of way. So I think that if I had that job and I was like, even if I'm just picking up a box and moving it, if the Stevie Wonder record is in the box, I'm like, this
Yeah.
is cool. Did that
Yeah.
ever occur? Did that ever happen to you? Or you just like, nah,
No,
this is part of my music.
no, that never happened to me, because, it was all in my mind, that one day eventually I'd be, on record, because that's what I always thought. I always thought, as a matter of fact, I told the guys at Triple Threat, because they started jabbing around at one point. I told them, I said, man, y'all need to get yourself together, man, y'all
So
jabbing, man,
what kind of band was Triple Threat?
Triple Threat was jazz, blues, and R&B, and that's why it was called Triple Threat because they played different type of music,
All three.
Like yeah, yeah,
And, and
and
was it a cover band or?
it was a cover band. It was a cover band. Back then, uh, everybody played covers back then. Nobody had original music. Actually, the first group that I really knew that had original music was I knew personally was Chuck.
Okay.
Eventually I got her because I used to go. Me and the lead singer, we used to go to all the Chuck shows at the Squad Room. And the first time I heard Chuck, man, I tell you, I was blown away, man, because I had never heard a band sound like that, because his band
Well,
was,
look,
go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a little delay, so sorry if I cut you off. So you mentioned that Chuck Brown got you guys in the Ebony Inn. I want to dig into that a little bit. One, because I just want to know how did he even know who you guys were to get you in the Ebony Inn, and second of all, there seems to be a lot of talk. Matter of fact, I was just listening to, I think it might have been Nico from GoGo Radio. I know it was his live that they did last night with Kenya McDuffie and a couple other people. Andre from Rare Essence was on there and a couple other people. And they were talking about the lack of I guess a farm system that we have now in GoGo, or
Yeah.
like I know this is pre-GoGo, but I'm just saying like a lack of opportunities for younger people in the music given by the older people in the music, and that's sort of something that I've heard about Chuck a lot, is that he
Mhm.
gave people opportunities and he tried to help people get it, get their own opportunities. And obviously it's just sort of in passing, but I'm just wondering if you remember sort of any specifics about how did he know who you guys were and what made
Well,
him say,
well,
I'm going to get you guys.
Chuck and Larry Holmes was the lead singer. They were personal friends.
Okay.
I don't know how they became personal friends, but they were personal friends. Um, and I guess once Larry told him that he had a band, you know, Chuck said, "Well, I got a spot for you," and he put us in that spot, you know. And I'm not sure if Chuck was playing at the Ebony Inn, uh, uh, and he moved up. Like I said, he moved on and he put a band in it because he would get a lot of shows that he couldn't do, and he would give it to us, and we would do a lot of shows, that he couldn't do, or people would call him for a show, and he would recommend us, and we did a lot of shows. But that's how we got in the Ebony Inn. And Chuck used to come to all our rehearsals. He used to come to all our rehearsals. I don't know. He took an interest in us for I don't know what reason it was, but he took an interest in us, and he came to all our shows, and he would sit down and talk to us before rehearsal, and
Uh-huh.
tell us certain things. And the guys in the band, they wouldn't listen to Chuck. I remember Chuck told me, man, he said, man, less is more. That stuff that stuck in my head from the first time he told me. He said, man, less is more. The less you
Oh, I
play,
want to dig into that.
the less you play, the better everything will sound. And he told me how to play cowbell, told me how to play, special notes on cowbell, and he was just trying to set us straight, But the guys they wouldn't listen because what Chuck was trying to do was eliminate all the extra playing that we were doing, you know. Um, and the guys that they didn't want to listen to that, but
What?
I heard something in Chuck, like I said, I ain't knowing, really, but I knew he had a record out, so I had to listen to him because he
So,
had a record
so at
out.
what? Well, at what point? What record did he have out at this point? Was this
This is the
Ashes
first
Will
record,
Flip or this
first album that they had, We the People.
We the People? Okay,
Yeah,
got you. So
We the People, We the People. This was maybe like maybe a year or so after he met us. That record came out. Once and it was a big record. We the People was a pretty big record. For a
yeah.
local group anyway. It was a big record. So
Well, so I want to dig into that a little bit just for any musician people that are watching because I feel like that's a big. I mean, obviously we're a live band culture, so it makes sense to a certain extent. However, it seems like that's a recurring theme, even to this day, that because we have such great musicians in the area, and it also reminded me when you said the triple threat thing, because we have such great musicians, everybody wants to show every bar of every song how great of a musician they are. And
yeah,
just like you
yeah,
just said, what Chuck said, less is more. Like when everybody's trying to do a roll and a chop and a
yeah,
run and this all at the same time, it just sounds like a bunch of noise together. And also, even if you're not doing that, like this is when I talk to singers or when I talk to drummers, like if you're running every single phrase or you're
yeah.
doing a fill every single phrase, then it's not special anymore when you do it. And you're
Right.
not locking the
Not like
groove in.
groove. Right.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and you're not locking the melody, if you're the singer, you're not locking the melody in somebody's brain to remember it either because the average
And
person's brain can't compute
and
that.
that's the main thing that every musician need to learn is what their part in the band is. What your instrument is supposed to do. You
Yeah,
know, uh, the drummer is he's supposed to keep the pocket. He's supposed to keep the time. That's what he's supposed to do. And it's like you said, when somebody's talking, he's supposed to be in the pocket. He ain't supposed to hit nothing. With the snare, the
right,
bass drum, and the hi hat. That's all he's supposed to do. That's
right,
that's all he's supposed to do. And the same way with guitar, bass, and keyboard. They all got parts to play. If you
right,
got three keyboard players, each three of those one of those keyboard players got a part to play. You know,
right,
if you're supposed to be playing horns or you're supposed to be playing string, that's what you're supposed to be playing. When you feel like putting in a melody, that ain't for you. Because you got a guy
right.
over here that's doing that. So you need to know your part in the
Yep.
band and what you're supposed to do. You know,
Yeah, because it's a machine and all the pieces need to go together. And if they're all going all different directions, then you're not going anywhere. Yeah, it doesn't it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
it doesn't move. So let me
And
ask you a question. I don't want to jump too far ahead to Trouble Funk yet because we're not there yet. But I did want to touch slightly on when you mentioned triple threat. It was jazz, blues. What was jazz, blues, and soul?
and
Jazz,
R
blues,
and
soul,
B,
R&B,
R and
and
B.
R&B. Okay, so but it was a cover band, and one of the
Yeah,
things that I see, um, even as recently as last week and the week before, talking to two young artists who were asking me for advice. Um, they there still seems to be, and I think it comes from the same place as what we were just talking about, as the musicians wanted to show how versatile they are and how accomplished they are in different genres of music. That makes sense when you're in a cover band because it gives you the breadth to be able to play different covers that are hot at the time, because the point of being in a cover band is to play something that people are familiar with and do it
right.
in a way that they react to it. However, you know, fast forwarding slightly just for 2 seconds to Trouble Funk, I feel like you guys, whether intentionally or unintentionally, developed a very pronounced signature sound. So I just want to highlight the difference between being a versatile musician that can play all types of music, which seems to be the goal of most of the musicians in the DMV area, and contrasting that with, if you want to be a band or an artist that is known as a brand for what you do, it's important that you develop a signature sound, which is the exact opposite of showing everybody how great you are at playing different
Yeah,
kinds of music.
right.
So just real quick, was that a conscious thing that Trouble Funk did to figure out that signature sound? Did you guys intellectually know that's what you're doing, or did it just come out of
No, no.
just playing?
I think what really happened with the original members of Trouble Funk, each individual in that band had a unique sound,
Mhm.
and with the guys in that band together, we formed that sound, and
Mhm.
once we started playing original music, because we started putting, inputting, everybody played their part in that song, and that's the reason why uh, um, all the Trouble Funk's music is so unique because everybody put their heart into each part that they played, so
Right,
and that's why it's so hard to be duplicated,
for
because
sure.
the individuals that played it from their heart, you know,
Mhm.
and they own style.
Yeah,
You can't replace Dyke. You can't replace him. Nobody has that style. Nobody plays like Dyke.
right.
Nobody plays like Chet. Chet
Yeah,
had his own little style. And
yeah.
and I'm the same way. Stuff that I played. It was totally unique. Because I created a lot of stuff from stuff that I felt.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
from way back in the day, sitting in the basement, listening to my mother's ring a washing machine, playing on the floor with that, listening to the rhythms, man, and the rhythms are always been in my head.
Wait, did you just say the washing machine?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I listen to everything, because I noticed that a pocket, it is the right pocket should sound like a machine. It should sound like a machine. And I noticed that all the hits, all the hit records, the groove or the percussion or the drive in it, it's like a machine. If you listen to anything that Prince got out, it sounds like a machine. That machine sound,
Yep.
and one of the bands that I hear now, that got it down pat is Backyard. Man, that
Yep.
percussion that they got, man, that machine sound that they got, man, it's just locked up, and it sounds just like a machine because them guys they play that same pattern over and over and over and over. They don't add nothing to it, they don't take nothing from it. They play the same pattern, and that's how it works. And
Right.
like I said, I used to listen to my father's windshield wipers. I used to any kind of machine, that I would hear. Eventually, I'll be playing along with it because of that machine sound.
Well, helps you keep that metronome in your head. The reason I'm
Exactly.
laughing about that is because they got a go-go band in Miami, and I think Marky Mark, Marky Mark,
Yeah, I know Mark Brown. Yeah.
I think it was him that posted it. They were playing go-go at a club in Atlanta. I don't even know if it was a club. It was only like two people in like a pool hall or something. And the guy on the microphone said, "That sounds like a washing machine." And so that's why I just started laughing when you said that you listened. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
who was playing. I only just quickly scrolled past it earlier today, but that's hilarious. Okay, so I didn't want
Yeah.
to jump too far ahead. So okay, so Triple Threat. You're playing at the Ebony Inn. Chuck Brown is trying to unsuccessfully convince your other band members to play like a machine as opposed to playing like a free form jazz musician,
Right.
and that's not working. So what happens then?
So eventually, the band kind of calmed down, because we began to work. You know, we began to do a lot of shows, and the band got tighter and tighter and tighter. And so eventually, all the nonsense, you know, that was going on in the band, it kind of disappeared because people started seeing that uh, we wasn't making that $37 no more. We started making,
Right.
we started making money, and the best way you can understand it is if you keep on doing what you're doing, you know, eventually you're gonna make more than that. And
Right.
so, like I said, that's why I was telling them, I said, man, look, y'all gotta straighten up, man. 'Cause I ain't gonna be keep doing this nonsense all the time. I said, eventually in life, man, I'm gonna be somebody. I don't care. I don't know what y'all think about, but I'm gonna be somebody. That's what
So
I would
you
always
always
tell them.
when did that thought get in your head? When did you start thinking I'm gonna be somebody?
Because like I said, we started doing more music, and at the same time, and working in sports brothers, I was meeting a lot of entertainers. You know, I met uh, Tony Bird that played with. He came in and he started working there too, but he playing with the presidents. 5, 10,
Okay.
15, 20. He started working there. I met
Hmm.
him, and he came in and we got to talking. He told me who he was. And I said, oh yeah, I play in the band Triple Threat. This that and all. He said, oh yeah, man, I want to hear y'all, man. So he came to one of our shows and checked us out. Then after the show, man, he said, man, man, me and the presidents, we trying to get back together. We gonna need a backup band. So we was like, yeah, we kind of stuck in with this. We kind of loyal to learn. I was anyway. But Russell, the keyboard player, he went on and went with him. And
Okay.
so that's what put it in my head that there was an opportunity for me to be somebody because people started recognizing. You know, and
Hmm.
and from that point on, it was like anytime I stepped on stage, it was 100%. And I tell a lot of kids the same thing. You get on stage, man, you don't know who out in that audience watching you. You know, don't slum, don't never slum. I don't care if it's two people out there. Man, you better
Yep.
play your stuff, because you don't never know
Yeah.
who out there. You never know who's sitting in that audience watching you. So
Yep.
you should
Yep.
never
Whether it's
slum when you're on stage.
200, 2,000, leave it all
Right.
on the stage.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know,
So
yeah.
the keyboard player went with the presidents. You stayed with Triple Threat because you were
I
loyal
stayed with
to.
Triple Threat, yeah. And when Russell left, Chuck was there again. He sent us Benny Braxton. One of the
Okay.
keyboard players they played with him. He sent
Mhm.
Benny Braxton. And Benny played with us for a while. But Benny was a little too advanced for us. Yeah,
Oh gosh.
he was a little too advanced for us. And we wasn't paying him enough. So eventually he moved away. So we got another keyboard player. So Triple Threat stayed together for a good while. And um, uh, then we finally broke up. And I became leader of the band, and I started a band called Sound Factory. We were doing
Sound.
the same
What was
thing.
it called? Sound Factory.
Sound Factory, yeah. And we were
Okay.
doing the same thing, playing little clubs around town, little teeny nightclubs in the DC area, just doing.
What were some of the clubs that you guys were playing back then?
Uh, there was a club up on Alabama Avenue called the uh, Vegas Lounge or something. Vegas something. Right across from Fairmont Village. And we
Okay.
did this place down on Good Hope Road called Simons. Those were the places
Hmm.
that we played in mostly. We played those
Yeah.
places like every other weekend or so.
Okay.
Then Sound Factory finally fell apart. And from that point, I was just kind of like in the breeze, not doing anything. One of the drummers that played with Sound Factory, uh, he was in this African jazz group called Dagati, and he called me up one night and said, "Man, yeah, we got a show at Fort DuPont, tonight, and our
Tonight.
percussionist, uh, our percussionist can't make it. You doing anything? Can you come and set in for us?" And I said, "I ain't doing nothing. I come set in." And the percussionist that was playing with him was Ashante. He played with the one that's the Juju. He was good, man. I tell you, he was good. He was an African guy. He played
Hmm.
like talking drum with sticks. And he was good,
Okay.
man. And I had never heard these guys, but and Andre said, "Man, don't worry about it. You got this." They don't even worry about it. It's the same thing, you know. Um, I played the show, you know. Everybody liked what I did, and after the show, same thing. Bass player with George Allen, he was, I think he was one of the original members of OCB song. He came to me and said, "Man, what you doing?" I said, "I ain't doing nothing." He said, "Man, that spot is open for you, man. Shante is too busy. You know,
Say he's
you
too
want to
what?
play? You're too busy." You know, one is a
Oh, gotcha.
Juju, a group out of Richmond. You know, they was on tour. They were traveling. So Shante is
Gotcha.
too busy, man. You know, he ain't gonna be able to do all this stuff, man, that we doing. You know, uh, if you're interested, man, you know, the spot is yours, man. I said, okay, okay. I ain't doing nothing. I'll do that, you know. And you know, I stuck with these guys for a while, you know, and same thing, you know, they were doing all the original material, you know, and they had some nice stuff, real nice African jazz stuff, man, you know, but still, you know, the inner structure of the
So
group.
I want to back you up just for 1 second because with Sound Factory, you say you were the leader of the band. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was the
Okay.
band
So
leader.
tell me about the difference in responsibility, stress level, etc., from being the percussionist to being the leader of the band. Did you notice a difference?
Oh yeah, it was a big difference, you know, because it was
Hmm.
a real big difference because I was responsible for everything. You know, I had to make
Right.
sure these guys got paid. You know, I had to make sure that the band got paid. You know, and I was responsible for moving, getting the equipment moved. You know, making sure that it got from place to place. You know, renting the trucks and or whatever we had to do to get it where we had. You know, and the majority of the time, you know, at the end of the night, I was stuck with all of it. You know, but once these guys got paid, it was gone. You know, yeah, I had all that
Imagine
stuff
that.
in my I had all that stuff in my apartment on Eli Place. You know, I had all that stuff
Mhm.
in my apartment. You know, and um, actually there was a lot of a place where we did a lot of jamming in my apartment on Eli Place. You know, we had to
Oh
set up
yeah.
like a night. Yeah, I had to set up like a
Your,
nightclub.
your, na- your neighbors wanted to kill you, I'm sure.
No, no, this was before they built. You know, they were kind of into what we was doing. You know,
Oh,
because
okay.
we were, they knew me because I lived in the building.
Hmm.
And the guys from Triple Threat, a lot of the guys from Triple Threat lived in the building. So, you know,
Oh,
they
okay.
knew us. Triple Threat rehearsed in the store, not the storage room, but the maintenance room. We rehearsed in there,
Hmm.
you know. So it was always some noise in the building, you know. So
Gotcha.
you know,
Well,
it was no problem.
gotcha. So then I want to move on to the next band real quick, and you have to remind me the name. But I just want to point out, I think any musician is probably thinking the same thing that I am. You went from playing in a R&B, blues cover band to African jazz, and
Yeah,
just with seamlessly, like that's not an easy transition. That's like a whole nother level
yeah.
of
But
musicianship right there.
you see, you have to understand. I was like 21 years old, 20 years old, you know, in
Hmm.
Triple Threat. You know, and we was
Right.
playing stuff like John Coltrane, you know,
Okay.
Return to Forever, you know, we was playing Stanley Clark stuff, you know, we was playing that kind of music, that kind of
Okay.
jazz, you know, we was playing real
Gotcha.
jazz, you know, so, and, and,
Okay.
and I was the type, you know, playing the Kuma drums, you know, man, back then you leave me a hole where I fill it up, rah, 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 yeah, I fill that joint
Right.
up, man, you know, because I was improvising, you know, so, um, I caught on the music real quick, man, and all types, you know, once I listened to it, you know, and heard what was going on in the song, you know, I had it. You know, it wasn't no problem, you know. So
Hmm.
uh, I was able
How,
to adjust, you know. And the African jazz group, you know, they were playing strong African stuff, you know, with
right.
6/8 tempos, man. You know, that stuff was going da 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 step da 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 da. They was playing that kind of stuff, man. You know, and it wasn't hard to catch on to, you know, but it was uh, um, I had to think, you know,
Hmm.
to instead of just putting just a regular R&B or pocket in there or anything, you know, I had to go back to what I was taught, you know, and I had to go all the way back to Malcolm X Park, where I learned how to play the Kuma drum, and that's why I started. I started playing with one drum, you know, and that's what I
So
played with,
you had already learned some of that stuff beforehand at the park with the drum circles. You had already
Right,
that's the
right,
kind of stuff you were
right,
playing already.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
it wasn't
learned a
like
lot
you
of
just
how.
went from playing R&B to African jazz.
No,
It
no,
just
no, because
yeah,
I always knew, always from playing in the park, you learn polyrhythms because there's so much stuff going on.
right.
You have one lead guy playing one lead drum, then you got one guy playing the bass, and then somebody playing the kumba drum, which is the ride, and it's so much stuff going on. Then all these bells and hoopers and all that stuff happening. You when you hear it, when you really hear it and listen to it, all that's going on, then you can really appreciate it, and you learn from it. All you have to do is just sit, listen, and close your eyes and just listen, and you can hear all the stuff that's happening. You know, it's the same way
Gotcha.
I did when I first heard punk rock. When I first heard punk rock, I was like, man, what they doing? Not to jump far ahead, but when we was on tour, you know,
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there for sure.
um,
Especially now that you got a punk rock haircut, we definitely have to get into that a little bit. But I don't want to nerd out too much in the music stuff real quick and lose anybody. Um, but how do you bridge the gap between what you were talking about earlier with the machine? Because the machine, and when you listen to hit records, like you said, there's a machine. But then if you match that with, you know, uh, um, jazz and Afro jazz and stuff that's more improvisational, how do you mesh those two things together without it getting messy?
well, it's not really actually a machine in jazz and improvisation because uh, a lot of the guys, when you're playing jazz, a lot of them doing what they want to do. As long as they come
Yep.
back to the head of the song. But once
Right.
they play the head of the song, and then when they go to free form, you know, it's just wide open. But if you listen to the head of the song has a rhythm and has that machine in it. That
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that machine is there. But when they get
Yeah.
into improvisation, and then they go off into a free form. So
Right. There's no wrong notes, only wrong resolutions. That's what I
right,
always learned. In my jazz, not that I'm a jazz player by any stretch of the imagination, but that's you just play whatever you want as long as you end on the
yeah,
right note and get back to
yeah,
the head. Yeah. So for the head, anybody that doesn't know that's sort of the structure of the song, the melody, and kind of go off into the improvisational part. So okay, all right. I don't want to nerd out too much on that, but okay. So you're playing with the African jazz group, and then what happens?
but the African jazz group, like I said, they were doing all original music, and it was all
This was your
bad stuff.
first time playing original music.
Huh?
This was
No,
your
it was
first time
really.
playing.
Yeah, actually, it was. It actually was my first time playing original music, and it was all good music, and like I said, the group was really bad, man. It was the bass player, the lead player, the leader of the band, his wife was in the band, and she played. She was a keyboard player, and it goes back to like I said, I played drums, but I wasn't a drummer. She
Right.
played keyboard, but she wasn't a keyboard player. And she wrote lyrics, and she wrote some hell of a songs. The songs she wrote they were all bad. But it was she had that mentality. Um, I mean, not bad in a bad way. They were bad. They were good songs.
Meaning
You know,
good. Not
they
bad
they
meaning bad, but bad meaning good. Gotcha.
yeah, they were good tunes. I mean, they were phenomenal tunes. Every time I would hear one of them, I'd be like, "Damn, you wrote that?" And she said, "Yeah, I wrote that." So, okay, but she had that mentality. It's my football. If I can't play, y'all ain't gonna play. She had that mentality, and she would come into the rehearsals and just mess everything up, man. Because she would get on the keyboard and start playing and be slowing everything down because the musicians in there, they was tight. Them guys knew what they was doing, and she couldn't keep up with them. So it just slowed everything down, man. And the guy talked to him over and over, man. What you gonna do with your wife, man? She good, man. She can write songs, but she can't be in the band. She don't fit. So
Did she sing too, or she?
she could sing, but she sang traditional African. She had
Ah,
the stuff that she sung. Well, actually, it fit in all the songs that she sung. Because she was African. She was from Ghana. And they sung stuff the way she sung everything, it fit what she was doing. She wasn't really
right,
a real tight vocalist, but
gotcha,
in the African dialect, it was perfect. It fit perfect.
gotcha.
But that's not what she wanted to do. She wanted to play
Right,
keyboard. So it
gotcha.
eventually broke the group up. You know,
Mm.
and I was really, man, but I could, how you get with somebody, you can, man, that's it. This is it, because they were playing music, man, and I had never heard, but it felt good, and it sounded
Right.
good. You could tell that it was gonna go, you know.
And
But
y'all were playing mostly locally, or had
yeah,
started to panhandle.
we played locally. We was playing, um, I think we did a couple of shows down at the um, Southwest Underground. I can't remember the exact name of that club, but it was one of the clubs down in Southwest that was downstairs. Uh, that eventually became a go-go spot. Um, I can't remember the name of it because we never played there, so I don't remember. But
Mm.
we played in that place a lot. Um, I wouldn't say we were a house band, but we played there a lot. A lot of weekends we played there. Because um, at one time back then, this was in the middle '70s. DC was like a jazz town. You could
Right,
go anywhere in DC and to they had jazz clubs. All over DC. You could
right,
go to Bigfoot, Bohemian Taverns, all those places like that. You could go there and just jam. You know.
right.
Mm.
Okay. Well, real quick, let me just remind everybody, anyone that's on Instagram, please make sure you head over to YouTube. .com/GoGoTix so you can see and hear the other side of the conversation. Again, that's youtube.com/GoGoTix.co. So that's G-O. Oh, I'm sorry, just GoGoTix, GOGOTIX. I was looking at my logo and I added the website in there. Sorry about that. So, okay. All right. So the wife broke the band up because she wasn't a good keyboard player. And then
Yeah.
what happened from there?
From there, that's when I met one of the saxophone players that played with Triple Threat. He knew the guys in trouble. So he
Okay.
introduced me to the guys in trouble band and show. So
Okay.
uh, that's when I met Rio, and I just started hanging around with them because they were rehearsing in this carpet shop right down the street from where I lived at. So I was telling Rio that I had some voice of the theater cabinets, that was just I was using for my stereo equipment in my apartment. If he wanted to use them, he could use them. So I let him use the voice of the theater. It had like one big 18 in it and a great big horn in the top of it. So I let him
Real
use
quick,
it. I think that
sorry, real quick. I just want to tell people who, because some people watching may not know who Rio is. So Rio was, at some point the manager of Trouble. Was he the manager of
he was
Trouble
the
Band
man.
and Show before it became Trouble Funk, or was it only after Trouble
No,
Funk?
he was manager of Trouble Trouble Band and Show. But before they became Trouble Band and Show, they were the Daytons. They was like a singing group.
Oh,
So and they from
okay.
went from the Daytons to Trouble Band and Show, and it's unique how I got the name. I think they were playing somewhere because they owned it Eastern Shore. They played on Eastern Shore every weekend. They owned it. They
Nice.
was like Earth, Wind and Fire down there. Yeah, I mean Trouble Band and Show. Y'all believe me? Trouble Band and Show was they owned Eastern Shore. And man, I tell you, they did. They owned it. You
Nice,
know,
nice.
but I think he got into some kind of argument with something, and he said uh, he flipped out something, and said, "Man, this ain't nothing but a bunch of trouble." and that's how he changed the name from Daytime to Trouble, and they became Trouble
Ah,
Band Show. Yeah. So I hung around with them for a little while, and I started helping Rio, move the equipment around, because they were doing like I said, every weekend. Every weekend they were down on the Eastern Shore, So I hung around with them for a while, and then eventually uh, we started. I started playing with them, uh, and then I left because that that long distance traveling every weekend, just wasn't worth it, for me, because I was losing money on my job that was taking care of me. I was missing overtime and everything, because I had to stop work early, to catch up with them to go down to the Eastern Shore. So I stopped, for a while, but I eventually came back, to help him, move the equipment around and just hang out, learning stuff, just learning.
that's interesting. I never knew that. I thought I assumed that you started helping Real after Trouble Funk's heyday. I didn't realize that you had. That's how you started out.
But I came back whenever he had hired Dyke and Big Tony and Taylor into the band, and this is whenever the sound changed, Trouble Funk sound started to change, Trouble Band and Show sound started to change, and one night they was playing at St. Mary's up on 450. They were doing a cabaret at St. Mary's, and uh, like I said, I was hanging around. Rio said, "Man, go home and get your congos, man. I'm gonna see how you sound with these guys." I said, "Okay." I went home, got congos, and they took a break, halftime, and when I came back on, I played the last set, So, and then that's how eventually I started playing with them. Um, I was back in the band again, and from that point, um, we were playing a lot of top 40 stuff, like everybody else in the city. Everybody else in the city playing top 40, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and eventually we got to the point where we started opening up for Chuck at the Club the Burn.
Yep.
And we would play, the show started at 12 midnight and it lasted to 6 a.m.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. So you started playing with them before y'all started playing with Chuck, and Hassan Phillips just chimed in and said which I'm glad he remembers because again I forget almost all these interviews as soon as I'm done with them, which is why I'm glad they're on YouTube. But I can go watch them again. But he said that Tony said that y'all switched to go-go after playing at the Club LeBaron with Chuck. So
Yeah, we did. We
prior
did.
to that, how were you playing percussion with Trouble Bandit Show before it became the go-go sound? Like, what was your style? Like, was it
My,
that more
my,
like
my, no, my style never changed. My style never
okay?
changed. Now, I still play the Latin sound that I have, you know, in the top 40. In top 40, I always played that style, you know, uh, which was, which that's the way I played. I played the way I learned to play. You know, I didn't actually really change my style of playing and picked up the go-go because the go-go, uh, uh, that 116 feel, I never grasped that until Mac got into the band. And when Mac got into the band, because Mac played different, and when some of the places we played real close, you know, uh, and I don't think nobody ever know this, Mac we playing, and we be messing with each other, and he'd reach over on my roller toms and play a part, and while he was playing the drums, and start playing that part, and he said, "Yeah, that's it," and then that's how I started playing. I learned to grasp that sound, that 116th feel, because it's different, and that
Swing.
feel is what, yeah, that swing is what makes go-go. A lot of people don't know it, and they think if they just slow the beat down, that's it. But no, that's not it. You
The
got to put that swing
syncopation.
on it. You got to put that swing on it. Yeah, so like I said, we open up for Chuck. We come on at 12 o'clock, and we played until Chuck was ready to play. Nobody danced. Nobody danced. Chuck was
Nobody was
trying to
dancing.
play.
Okay.
Nobody was dancing. Nobody danced. And the band didn't sound bad. The band was cranking. It wasn't
Right, right,
bullshit. They were
right.
playing. The band sounded good, but nobody
So
danced.
that was just because they were so loyal to Chuck that they didn't want to show love to anybody else if it wasn't Chuck. Is that what that was?
No, we had that swing.
Oh, you didn't have this.
No.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It,
Okay,
it,
because this was pre you getting that go go sound. This was
right
still
before it's free, yeah,
playing.
before we got to go down. We worked together a long, like I said, from that show at the Burgundy Room till we
Mhm.
started playing with Chuck. We had a lot of shows together, and the band was tight. Like I said, the band was not a slouch band. The band
Right,
sounded good, but
but it just didn't
we
have that.
played top 40. We just didn't have that swing, and um,
So
we
how
played.
long were you with Chuck until you said, "All right, we got to incorporate that swing
Um,
because that's what's working."
I don't know how long it was, but it seemed like a lifetime, because you
Yeah,
you playing all night, for somebody, opening up for somebody, and the kids don't, they don't even dance, they don't pay no attention to you,
right.
they would come up to the stage and say shit like, the next time y'all come here, bring your lunch with y'all, and y'all lunching, they
It was
say them kids,
that.
yeah,
Oh
man,
man,
hey, man, but the band was tight, like I said, the band was tight, but and Chuck would come on, man, and Rick would just do that. He'd just do a roll, and everybody come out on the floor. And we were like, damn, what the fuck is we going wrong? So,
that's
Tony started listening to Chuck, I mean, we was all listening to Chuck because, I had always listened to him, man. But like I said, from the first time I heard him, I knew he had the tightest band in the city. Nobody could touch him, because his band was so disciplined. And like
was
I said, the first time I
was he advising y'all the way that he was advising Triple Threat, and y'all just weren't listening, or he just wasn't?
oh, no, 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 no. No, he
Okay,
wasn't
got
communicating with us at all. And, we would always talk, because he knew me from that triple threat. Uh,
right.
me and him were the best of friends. I went to his housewarming and all that kind of stuff. We was the best of friends.
Oh wow.
You know, yeah, we was the best friends. And as a matter of fact, I went to when once E Flat Boogie came out, and I went to hang over at his house one time, and he was in his room in the basement. He had his round room down in the basement where he would sit down and play, and he was playing E flat boogie. I was really crushed behind that. Yeah, so playing E
Wait a
flat
minute.
boogie.
We can't get there yet. We can't get there yet. All right, so we got. I want to make sure everybody on Instagram, y'all want to hear this. So go over to YouTube.com/Gogotalx so you can see and hear the other side. So what was there like a moment where you guys were in a rehearsal or a meeting or something, and were like, okay, listen, this ain't working. We got to do this go-go stuff. We got to swing this. We got to figure it out, or did it just happen organically?
This happened after every show. In the dressing room, every show. Everybody was pointing fingers. Like, oh, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing it. Y'all just fucking up. This kind of all. And it's everybody's fault.
Right.
Because the kids wasn't dancing. And we didn't figure out that it was a swing. We didn't figure that out because the band sounded so good. We didn't figure out what it was. You know,
Well, let me ask you this: what before Chuck started using the go-go beat, did people dance? Were people dancing to like what was it normal to come to the club and the kids would be dancing? I mean,
oh
was
yeah,
that so
yeah.
that
This
was
is this
the
is yeah. This is way before the go-go started. Everybody in DC uh, uh, played the same way.
right,
Everybody in DC. It's just like everybody say. Go-go is the uh, um, official sound of DC. And DC always had a sound. You know,
right,
I don't understand that. Because DC always had a sound. From Bruce back to Black Heat and everything. from when I first started playing. Everybody had the same ingredients. You had a horn section, three-piece horn section. You had a percussion section, keyboard, and a singer.
Right.
And that was
Right.
the DC sound. And everybody
Right.
sounded the same. Not sounded the same, but everybody played the same material, but
Right.
everybody didn't sound the same. But everybody had the same instrumentation, and that was the DC sound. And wherever you went, people danced. We had no place, we had no problem with people dancing nowhere but at the Club Le Burn. That was the only
Gotcha.
place because the Club Le Burn was a strictly straight up go-go spot. For
Right.
them kids. You playing for kids, and it's just like right now. If you go into a bounce beat show and you play the pocket,
Yep.
the kids
They're
gonna
gonna
look at you
stand
like you
there and look
crazy.
at you.
They'll stand and watch you.
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
sound? How good? You sound? They ain't gonna dance
Yeah.
because they don't feel that pocket. It's the same way with
Right.
those kids. They didn't feel what
Yeah.
we were doing because we was playing top 40, but we were
Yep.
playing it like the song. I mean, we played it our way, with our little signature on it, but it was still like the song.
Right.
It was different. And Chuck had this way of taking um, the best part of the song and putting that beat on it. There's a lot of times he would stay into. There's one of the songs that he used to. Two particular songs that I used to love to hear him play was Phaso, Riding High. He used to get in that song and stay in that song almost 20 minutes and never play the song. He just
Right.
played a pocket, and they
Right.
say riding high, do, and
Uh-huh.
just stay there, and he never go into the song. The same way with Jam by LTD, they just play
Hmm.
that pocket jam, dum,
So,
dum, dum.
so,
He just play that, and they never go into the song. And you wait
right.
for him to go into the song. He never, and that was his thing. He picked the best part of the song, and he just ride them. And he do that all
Right.
night. You know,
Well, that yeah, double down on the best part.
yeah,
Accentuate the positive, eliminate the
exactly.
negative.
Yeah,
So okay, at some point you guys have decided, okay, we got to incorporate this sound in order to make these kids dance. At what point and how did it turn into, okay, we're transitioning from this top 40 band to like now we're trying to write our own records, and was that a conscious decision? Was it we want to be, like we want to tour Japan, we want to be on
yeah.
it, whatever. Not, I guess
This
it wasn't MTV at the time, but
this
we
was
want
around
to.
this was around the part where trouble started getting hungry. Tony would stay at all the shows after we left, and listen to Chuck all night long till he was gone. I mean, till the show was over. He would listen to Chuck to see what Chuck was doing. Um, he told Rio to give him a mic, and let him MC the show, so to speak. Which is that's what he's doing. He's the MC. Everybody call him the lead talker, but you're the MC.
Yep.
So he started doing that, and it began to work. But we also started working on material, uh, original material. You know, Roll With It was our first original song.
Uh-huh.
It had the right beat, it felt good, and it moved the kid. You know, the first time we played it, uh, the kids started coming out on the floor. It was, Roll With It. First time we played, the kids started coming out on the floor. All right, we got him. We got him. Yeah, so they started coming out on the floor, and we stay in that beat, and go through the song. As soon as we finish the song, this is our first original. As soon as we finish the song, we go into some top 40 song, and the kids are sitting right there because because you lost that beat. Tony said, bring the beat back, bring the beat. And eventually we started playing that beat all night long,
Hmm.
and it would keep the kids up. And from that point on, everything was centered around that beat and that tempo,
Hmm.
because that's what the kids wanted. Um, and once we eventually got the kids, it kind of caused a controversy between Chuck and Ted, the owner. He said, man, them guys stealing my stuff, and which we weren't stealing his stuff. We were creating our own stuff because Chuck didn't, at that particular time, Chuck didn't. He only song he had was "Busted Loose." That was
Right.
original. He was still playing top 40, which is what he always did. He
Hmm.
always played top 40. Eventually, I mean, every now and then, he would play. One of the other guys in the band would write a song, and they come out with a song, But the only thing that he had out was original was "Busted Loose." So he was playing
Hmm.
top 40, but he was just playing it at the right swing and the right tempo, and
Right.
it's what the kids like, you know. So
Right.
eventually, that's what we started doing, and once we started getting that, once that started working, then we started working on it, and we started developing the sound. Like I said,
Hmm.
with the original guys in Trouble Funk, all those guys were unique musicians. Those guys, hat off to all of them, man. I love them all, man. Those guys were unique. They all had their own had their own sound, and which what made Trouble Funk. Because if you go back and listen, to all that old stuff that we did, there's not another band in the world that sounded like Trouble Funk when it was
Nope.
hot. No band in the
Well,
world sounded like Trouble Funk.
let me ask you this, because you said that you had already known prior to this that you wanted to be something bigger. You knew that you wanted to be something
Right.
bigger. But collectively, as what was Trouble Band and Show became Trouble Funk. At what point? I'm spacing right now. What changed? Why did you change from Trouble Band and Show to Trouble Funk again?
They changed from Trouble Funk because um, the kids started calling us Trouble Funk. They
Oh,
had
okay.
this little thing they say, uh, "Ain't no funk like Trouble Funk," something like that. They used to always say it was. Uh, I forgot the saying what they used to always say, but the kids started calling us, "Ain't no funk like Trouble's Funk." Ain't no
I
funk
got.
because they had this sign, that they had on Dice keyboard, and they would always say that, Trouble Funk is where it's at. There ain't no funk like Trouble's Funk. And that's how they changed the name. They changed the name from Trouble Band and Show to Trouble Funk. You know,
Well, so at that, was there a collective when you guys started making your own music? I'm trying to dig into this because this is sort of the purpose of the show. Is that I'm always trying to uncover what happened in the past to try to inform, what the future of go-go could be like, because I posted this a couple of weeks ago. One thing that I didn't realize, obviously being a little bit younger, was that, or that sort of become clear to me over this doing these shows, is that
okay,
it's not like go-go bands, or most go-go bands, and that's why I want to ask about Trouble Phone, had aspirations to be Earth, Wind, and Fire or anything like that, and failed. It was like, we're local bands that are playing locally, but we're just so fucking good that you just overachieved. So it's not like go-go bands failed because they didn't become national, international artists, with a longevity. It's that for at least a decent amount of them that I've talked to so far, that wasn't even ever the goal. It was just a
right.
goal to
To
be,
play music.
to
Yeah.
play music, and it just was so good that it did better. But so that's why I was curious with Trouble Funk. Was there ever a point in time when you guys were like, we're going to start making original music? We want to
And
tour the world
go
and
somewhere.
become
Go somewhere. Yeah, we did.
superstars.
But our formula was with creating original music. Uh, we created a lot of stuff on stage at shows.
Mhm.
All that stuff that all the classics. They were created on stage. You know, um, we never recorded anything that wasn't in demand. We never recorded anything that wasn't in demand. If we played the
Mhm.
original song and the crowd didn't like it, that went in the trash. We never played it again. And that's how we became who we were. Because we never missed on songs because we never played in anything that nobody didn't want. We never forced it on nobody. And that's something that a lot of people do. You play stuff that you like. You got to play with your audience like, and that was one of the formula of Trouble Funk. What we created was always in demand. If the kids or our crowd didn't like it, we never played it again, and we never recorded it.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I feel like I, my personal opinion is that a lot of and I realize that I'm probably in the minority of people that want to see go-go on a much larger stage for a long period of time, not just a flash in the pan here, a flash in the pan there. But I want go-go to be on a level of hip hop or other genres of music where it's internationally known on a as you and I have had many conversations about in the past. But one of the things that I think that is preventing that from happening is exactly what you just described, which is go-go bands typically try to recreate in the studio what works on stage, and that is an incredibly difficult proposition. And I'm wondering if you might be able to say, what was it that how were you guys able to succeed at that when most other bands were not? Because a lot of bands, when you try to recreate that energy that you have on stage, when you're in a studio, you're in an isolated booth, there's no crowd around you giving you the energy. It's just not the same. So how were you guys able to navigate that?
Well, actually, the our first big live record was done in the studio with a crowd.
Oh, really?
We took a crowd in the studio, and we made it just like a go-go. We
Oh, wow.
put the crowd in a booth and um, put a mic in there with them, and played just like it was a show. Our first live, that's how we did it. And we had call and respond with the crowd that was there, and that was real. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, they had a part to do, and we had a part to do, and our part was to um, play, play our music, and they were to respond. It was our crowd, but that's what they did, and they um, it worked out right, you know. As far as the uh, getting it to going in the studio and playing live, or making it sound like you play live, you have a problem with that. If you're going to produce it and distribute it yourself, you don't have a problem. But the record companies, they don't, they can't market go-go. They can't market go raw go-go. So that's the reason why it's not marketable for a record company. So if you're going to do all that yourself, then you can do it the way you want to do it. But that's the
Mm-hmm.
same way when we sign with all the record companies, the same way. Uh, uh, they can't do nothing with that raw stuff because they can't market it. They can't do nothing with
Let's
that raw thing.
let's get into that story. So how did so okay, tell me the name of the first record again. Uh
The Funk Go-Go sound, the first live.
okay. That was the first so that was the first record that y'all ever cut? Or that was
No, no,
just the
no. The
first
first
live?
record that we cut was Roll With It, and then it was E Flat
Roll.
Boogie. Right. But those
Okay.
are E Flat Boogie was close to a commercial song, but it had a go-go feel to it. And the thing is,
So
it was, huh?
how did you achieve that?
What E Flat Boogie was kind of like an answer to Bustin' Loose. It was
Hmm.
kind of similar style to Bustin' Loose. It's kind of similar to that. Uh,
Hmm.
but the thing is, with E Flat Boogie, um, and a matter of fact, all the troubles in music, uh, the percussion is mixed in the music. It's not on top. And that's the mistake that everybody makes in DC. They put the percussion out front. You hear all that percussion, that back a book, and you hear all that before you hear the music. You know,
Right.
and you got to be able to hear the music. For somebody to like what they're doing. Somebody that don't listen to go-go. They
Yep.
need to hear the music. Because The music is the most important thing. That's what grabs the people. They listen to the beat too, but you can't have all that percussion, cowbells and all that stuff on top of somebody singing and the music. If you got some pretty music in the background, but you can't hear that music because you got all this rah, 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 all that kind of stuff going on the record, you know, that shit don't work. You know what I'm saying?
So
So,
did you? I remember Tony said that y'all recorded in Philly. Was that where you recorded E Flat Boogie?
Cardi, yeah, E flat boogie, pump me up. We did that at Sigma Sound.
Okay. Do you think
And
that recording outside of DC and ostensibly was there a producer on those records, or you
we did
guys
it all
pretty
ourselves. We did it ourselves. But the thing
yourself?
is, though, yeah, we did it ourselves. But the thing is, though, like it was a mix. You know, like I say, and if you listen to All Trouble's music, you know, the percussion is where it's supposed to be. You know, it's subtle and in the background where it's supposed to be. The music is
Right.
out front. And that's a mistake that people make here in DC. I mean, in DC, because they put all that percussion on top. And
Hmm.
it's good for DC. It works in DC. But around the world, it don't work. It just don't work.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, man. I think it's definitely a challenge. I mean, it was funny when we were recording Miracles and Welcome to DC. That I went to Baltimore to a friend of mine I went to high school with studio, who I do all my stuff. We did the whole Marvel Salsa album and everything there. Um, and he's like I don't even want to say he's a rock guy because they did everything at that studio from Drew Hill to the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra to death metal to jazz to they do all different kinds of music. But and his inclination is always to bury the percussion, and I'm like, no,
Right.
you got to turn it up a little bit. So it was always a push and pull, but I definitely always knew that it couldn't be what you're describing, which is overpowering everything. And I wanted it to
Right.
be because I wanted it to. I wasn't just trying to make a record. I was trying to make a go-go record that
Right.
people in Cleveland or California could understand. So I knew it couldn't be all the way sitting up front like your typical go-go records, but it couldn't be all the way buried underneath either. So you attribute but was that you guys saying or you? I guess what I'm trying to get to is I feel like we in go-go just sometimes have blinders on because we just wanted to sound like the way it sounds on the stage, and that is like you said a record company. I mean, it's arguable whether record companies are even necessary anymore, major record companies, I mean. But it's hard to market because the percussion is overriding the song, and everything comes from the song. And that's the other
Right.
thing, is that E flat boogie and Pump Me Up were songs. Yeah, they were a little different, but they were songs. There's something in there that you can grab onto. It's not just a bunch of hoods getting shouted out.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's a hook. It's a lyrical and a melodic hook,
Well,
and the percussion is there to.
that makes a big difference too. If you're saying something in the tunes, because and it's another thing about go-go. People seem to they don't want to realize that go-go is it's a business. You got to treat it like a business. It ain't a party. And that's how
Yeah,
everybody think about it, is as a party. It's
yeah,
it's a business. You got to think as a business wise. You got to
yeah.
think. To want to go somewhere. And you got to think about not only what's happening here in DC. You got to think about what's happening in the world. You got to
Yep.
look a little further than what's going on in DC, and you have to think
Yep.
that way. Because everybody don't want to hear about what's going on. Everybody even Southeast, they don't want to hear all that. You can't say that when you go to uh, Germany and all those places like that. And you
Right.
have to strive for that. You have to really want to do that. You have to really want to be there. And
Mhm.
um, you just have to want it. And that was one thing that once trouble started uh, um, getting out there, we became like we had kind of a swagger, so to speak. We knew we sounded good, and everywhere we went, you know, people said the same thing. We went to places where people we was doing shows with national artists, and they was get talking about, y'all ain't paid no dues, y'all can't play last, and we say okay,
Oh,
we
that
let's see what y'all do, see if y'all can follow
was
us.
this was this the infamous Curtis Blow story or
No, no, this was actually
oh,
this was one way. We played with one way at
one
Norfolk
way?
State. One
Oh,
way.
okay.
They had this one song out. They was headlining the show.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we getting ready to do a sound check. They came in. What is this, Rototown City? Okay. So we finished setting up and we
Famous
did it.
last words.
Yeah, we did a sound check, man. And when we finished the sound check, the manager they was gone. Man was gone. They was out of they had left the auditorium and everything, And the manager came to us and said, man, y'all can close the show, man. We can't follow that. And they knew they couldn't follow it, they knew they couldn't follow it. Because they had never heard nothing like that. And everywhere we
Right,
went, it was the same way. People had never heard anything like what we did. And this was the time when we were dropping the bomb. At the end
right,
of the show, we dropped the bomb when we blow up the place. We blow the stage up. We dropped
right.
big bombs. We dropped three bombs. And each one was louder than the last one. And at the Norfolk
Right.
School, we blew stuff out of the ceiling. And then we started going places, and the fire marshal would meet us there. They would tell us, "Y'all can't drop that bomb." Because we was tearing up places. You know, and actually the
That's
bomb it was actually a pipe bomb. So we we couldn't keep using that.
oh, so it was like actual pyrotechnics bomb. Like I thought it was just
It was like a flash can. But
uh
instead of being a trash can, the guy had instead of making it out of a can like you
right,
usually make it, and a piece of wire and pour gunpowder over it, and it would just go like that. What he was doing was taking a whole canister, a film canister, full of gunpowder, and pour it down in this little pipe like this, pipe about that big, and then stuff a rag down it. So whenever you turn the switch on, and that little spark in between would go off, it was like a bomb. It would blow up. So
I
each
I never knew this. I've never heard this.
yeah,
I
each
thought you were like the sound on the keyboard. I didn't know you were talking about like an actual pipe bomb
oh,
at the
we
show.
did right, man. We were actually dropping bombs. Yeah, we was dropping bombs because "Drop the Bomb" was the last song we played.
Right.
So when we started playing it, got around it. When we started playing it, people would start doing like this. They would start covering their ears because they knew that bomb was gonna go off. And that was
That's
when I became reputation trouble. They're gonna drop the
that,
bomb up in here, you know.
uh, that's good. Well,
And I think the
my
first
our
the first place
mutual
we
friend.
dropped the bomb was at the Coliseum. Was at the Coliseum with the Barcades, and the bomb was in front of Rick, and when they set the bomb off, it blew him off the stage.
What?
Yeah, they set the
Uh,
bomb off, blew him off the stage.
that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, our mutual friend Stomp Dog has joined us on Instagram. Stomp, I know you've watched the show before. You've been on this show before. Head over to youtube.com, and anybody else that's on Instagram, head over to youtube.com/Gogotalx. And that way you can hear and see Teebone on the other side as well. And
Well, I
his
got
his
my battery down. I got to switch.
oh his battery is down. But he's figuring it out. So while T-Bone's getting himself away, I hope that the earphones are not going to mess his fancy mohawk haircut because T-Bone got a mohawk now. Um, but yeah, so he's getting back in. So Stomp, thank you, Villain from the Bill. I think Money Too Long, Monty Joe. What's up, Big Wave? So everybody head over to um, youtube.com/Gogotalx. We got Teebone from the legendary Trouble Funk. And Teebone, can you hear me again now
Yeah, I
with
hear
the
you. Yeah, I
earphones?
got you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, good deal. So, so you were mentioning, you were talking about creating the songs so that people in Germany or wherever can understand it. So that's kind of a nice segue into a question we have from the audience from Hassan Phillips, who wanted to know when and how did you begin recording with Sugar Hill Records? How did that come about?
I think we started recording with Sugar Hill in 83, somewhere 83, 84. I'm not exactly about the year, but um,
Mhm.
I think it was right after we did Pump Me Up. Um, Sugar Hill, they were just I guess they were looking to sign somebody, a new act or whatever,
Mhm.
and we signed with Sugar Hill, but the thing is, it's just like I said, a major record company, man. They do it to a lot of artists. You sign a record deal with them, and uh, they try to own you. They want you to do what they want to do. You can't do your thing. I mean, they got us on a lot of tours. We did a lot of touring with Sugar Hill. As a matter of fact, we made Sugar Hill get a band. Because they were going out with us with a DJ, and you couldn't do that.
Right, right.
You couldn't go out with on tour with a band like Trouble Funk and with a DJ, and actually uh, the only group that ever did that successfully, and was New Edition. You know, um,
Mm.
they did a show with us, and actually we shouldn't have been on that show anyway. Because it was a kids show. It was an actual kids show. It was New Edition, Stacey Lattisaw, Johnny Gill, and Trouble Funk, Iceberg Slim, and Tilt. We shouldn't have been on that show. Because it was a kids show. It wasn't nothing in it but kids. And
Well, so at what point, roughly what year was that? Do you remember?
that was maybe '85, I
Okay.
think. But the thing was, New Edition, man,
They
when
had a
they came,
show.
yeah, and they had a reel to reel on stage. They
Oh,
had, all-
yeah.
they had all this stuff on the reel to reel, man. And when they came off stage, I was tired. And they was like this the whole show, man. I'm like, damn.
Right. Well, yeah, 'cause they put on a show, and so I want to touch on that in a second, but I want
And
to.
and and, and from where they started, because they did a show with us in Salisbury when they first started out with Candy Girl. When Candy Girl first came out, because we watched them grow, because
Mhm.
when Candy Girl first came out, there were only two mics on, and that was Ralph and the other little guy, Ronnie, I think it was. They
Oh,
were doing all of these singing, and
oh,
and actually between halfway between the show, because all the other guys, their voices was tracked, and Ralph and the other guy, they were the only ones singing live, and they got Bobby Brown got to fighting on the stage with because his mic wasn't on, so he started taking Ralph's mic. That's what cracked me up. And this is from the very very beginning. They had I think Maury Starr was playing drums, and that's all they had. He was
oh,
playing only one on stage. He was playing drums, and everything else was tracked. You know,
wow.
but and they had, like I said,
So, yeah, this was a long time ago,
yeah,
and
this
it
is when they
was
first started. When Candy Girl came out, it might have been their first show. Might have been the first
right,
show because I think that uh Ralph was the only one that could sing really. Ralph and I mean that could really stay on key probably.
right,
Until they started taking lessons. Once they started taking lessons, then they all learned to sing. Because I think they were dancers. You know,
right,
they were dancers, and
right,
they made them a singing group. You know.
right. Well, let me ask you a question. So you mentioned when we were talking about Sugar Hill Gang, you mentioned that the record company wants you to do what they want you to do. What did Sugar Hill or any other record company for that matter try to get Trouble Funk to do that y'all didn't want to do?
Well, actually,
That you
they wanted us to it's just like Island Records. They wanted us to switch um, from go-go because they couldn't market go-go. They couldn't market
Mhm,
raw go-go, and they wanted to us to become a, a more of an R&B band. Which
mhm.
that's not what made us. We was a go-go band, so a go-go
After
funk band.
after you've already released E Flat Boogie Drop the Bomb, which are go go records, but clearly had more of an impact. I mean, why couldn't they market that? Like what?
Well,
What?
those records was already out. They took
Right.
um,
I
they
mean, that
we
sound.
did have one album uh, on Sugar Hill, Drop the Bomb, and it had Drop the Bomb on it. Hey fellas, Pump Me Up, and all of our go-go stuff that we had on there. I mean, that was strictly straight up go-go stuff that from way back from the Club to Burn. Uh, we had to put lyrics to all that stuff and turn it into commercial songs, and which is what we did. You know, I don't know how the album sold, but that's what we did. And from that point on, and I'm not sure how much of a album deal we had with them. Everything else we had to do had to sound like that.
Mm,
And it's the same thing that they do. They turn down everything that you submit. No, this we can't use this. You know, we can't use this. We can't use this. Island Records did the same thing.
mhm,
Everything we submitted, they turned it down, and they brought Bootsy Collins in to produce it.
mhm.
I mean, not to put Bootsy down, but he can't produce Go Go because he had us sounding like him.
Right. Well, so what do you think? So, because assuming that you agree with me and want to see Go Go on a higher level than it is and has been, is there anything that you think y'all could have done to, and I'm not suggesting you should have, I'm just saying, is there anything that you think you could have done to meet them in the middle and still be authentic to Go Go, but also give them something that they could market? Or was it just
No,
fuck
because
that? That's
they didn't want that. They didn't want what we did, which was the pocket to the pocket to do the pocket. They didn't want that. They
but
wanted us to.
theoretically they signed you because of E Flat Boogie Drop the Bomb, something that you had already, which was, I mean, in my mind, Go
I
Go.
think they actually signed us because Pump Me Up, which
Okay.
was which was Pump Me Up was sort of it was right along with it was actually an answer to Sugar Hill Gang, their first song. Uh, um, Love the light thing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Book
it was
class.
actually yeah
Yeah, I know.
because that was the first rap song that that
Yeah,
everybody really was into, and it was kind of like an answer to that. And
right,
Pump Me Up was the first. I don't know if I'm really saying this right, but Trouble Funk I think was maybe like the first rap record that came out of DC. That
right,
went
right,
somewhere. And it was
mhm,
rap go go. You know,
right,
because it had and actually it wasn't a lot of go go because it had a, a a serious Latin breakdown in it. It was
hmm,
a what was happening at the time breakdown in it. Which made it so popular. You know, and
hmm.
and and that's the reason why I think they signed us. Because they heard that come from us. And they
Yeah,
wanted more
rappers
stuff.
delight.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
rappers are
was the
like
song.
yeah. They wanted more stuff like that. But we had a lot more other stuff. And you could never forget. And like I said, the only reason why we did that was because uh, it was an answer to Rapper's Delight. Because it was a
Right.
hit song that was out. And that was one of the things that we were doing at the time was answering a lot of the stuff that was already out there. So we could get the airplay. If you listen to what's on the radio, and you mimic that, and you get your stuff played, and you can still be yourself. but you have to do it your way, you know. But you got to give, you know. You got to give a little bit, you know.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at. Like, there's obviously a lot of
But
tension
you
there
know,
between.
not to cut you off again though. The thing is, the thing is with DC, man. You know, and when we were together, the original Trouble Funk, or back then in the day, now, not necessarily Trouble Funk, but back in the day, DC should have had its own Motown. You know what I'm saying? Back then, DC should have had its own Motown. And the thing is, you know, with me, uh, uh, the bands in DC won't unite. You know, they won't unite and get together and form a business. You know what I'm saying? A business like record company. You know, they need to have their own record company because you ain't gonna get nowhere signing with a record label. You're not going nowhere. You know, you need to get your own record company and just like I said, like Motown. Every city has it, you know. The Motown had it, you know, uh, Chicago had their sound, you know, Philly had their sound,
Yeah.
you know, and that's all it takes is for these guys to just unite, you know,
Mhm.
and build their own sound company, not sound company, but their own record label, you know, and produce and get their own stuff out there and distribute it worldwide. And that's what they need to do, you know, because
Well, funny you should say that because, well, if you remember, Mambo Sauce was the first act on Red Sea Records, which was my first record company, and now I have a new one called 7070 Sound for exactly that reason. But that is sort of like a perfect segue into my question for you, which is that tension between, because I don't necessarily know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you know way more than I do, but I don't necessarily know that the problem is only the bands uniting. I feel like the problem, and it's not even a problem, it's just a difference. It is what we talked about earlier. Songs. Go-Go is based around the percussion, in my opinion. That's what makes go-go is the percussion. Whether you're talking about traditional swung syncopated go-go or even bounce beat, it's the percussion. Like
right,
in the absence of the percussion, it's not go-go to
that's right.
me.
It's not
You know, but that also, you turn that around and flip it around. In my opinion, if you have that percussion, then it is go-go, regardless of whether there's any audience, call and
participation.
response,
Right,
whether there's yeah, it's just the percussion is what makes it. So what I think is not the problem, but the roadblock is that go-go doesn't really write songs anymore. If you look at Chuck Brown, you guys, EU. Granted, EU didn't write that song, but it doesn't matter. Whitney Houston never wrote a song either. It doesn't.
right.
You don't have to be the writer. Like, as long as you have a song, then that's what matters. Is that the song is there. And what I think is, because, as you described multiple times in this conversation, we can sort of, like, the percussion, the beat, the go-go beat is the cheat code. Can no other music fuck with it
Right.
at all. Like, I mean, I'm younger than you, obviously, but I know will probably agree with me. I've seen Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, and Anthrax, and Alice in Chains all on the same stage in the same night, and it still ain't fucking with Backyard. I don't
Right.
care.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So to me, there is no other form of music live that is fucking with go-go. We have the cheat code because of the percussion, of which you were, one of the innovators. But if we don't learn how to put a song over top of that percussion, that somebody in Idaho or Germany or Australia will understand and be able to sing back and get what's going on, then we're just going to be relegated to the DC area, because the problem is no promoter is going to pay for a 12-person band to come play in another state if you don't have a song
Right.
that's doing
Exactly.
something. And no go-go band is going to do what other bands and other genres do that may not have hit records, which is still go and play in that other state for no money 3, 4 times until they build up a fan base,
Right.
and then they can go back and start making money again because go-go bands want to get paid as soon as
Top
they
dollar.
walk out of the door.
But
Yeah,
the
which
thing is, though, you really can't go to other cities and expect to be paid top dollar, and if you don't have a hit song out,
yeah,
because why should I hire you from another city to come in and pay you this money when I can use the local band that's gonna play the same thing that you play?
yeah,
They're gonna try to play it go-go style. They ain't gonna get it, but they're gonna try it, you know,
and they're gonna
and I
sell
can pay
tickets.
them for this and they can be
Yeah,
satisfied. So if you don't have a hit record out or a record out, period, you know, how you think you're gonna go somewhere, if you don't have a record out? And you gotta have a record out. You gotta have some original material. You can't go to other places where people ain't never heard you and try to play top 40, expect to be
right.
paid money. Perfect example. We played at Browns Island in Richmond. We would that was one of the big places that we always played every summer. We played in Browns Island in Richmond, and we were doing our show, and we went into a Usher song. We started playing the Usher song, and people say, "What the hell y'all doing? Hey, 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 no, no, cut that out." So and Tony said, "Oh, y'all don't want to hear that." I said, "No." I said, "Okay, well, y'all call the show." And they started calling off all Trouble Funk stuff, and everything they called off, we played it. So that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. You can't go someplace, don't nobody know you, and you don't have a record out, playing top 40. That's
right,
here, that's the DMV. That's as far as you're
right,
gonna go. You can't
right.
expect to, I see everybody talking about the Miami takeover and everything, but you're taking your own people with you.
Yeah,
So
that's a
you ain't taking
yeah,
nothing over. You ain't taking nothing over. You're taking your own
right.
people there. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
no diss to my man Wiley that does that, but I bring that situation up a lot. And I think it's great that he's doing it. But what people seem to misunderstand is that is not building another market. Yeah, although I think he is
this is
trying to.
okay. This is why not to cut you off. Rick. This is what I'm saying though. If you're gonna go there to take over the city, you need to play some material that's yours. So the next
Yeah,
time you go there, they'll know it. You know what I'm saying? You can't go there
agreed.
and do a whole set of top 40 music.
Well, but the reason they're doing that, and this is what I was getting at, was that most of the people going to the Miami takeover and seeing those bands are not from Miami. They're from DC. You're
Right?
just taking a group of people
And
from
taking them with
DC to
you.
yeah, which I'm not. I don't want to because that's my friend. Wiley's my man. I think he's doing a great job. I don't want to make it seem like I'm shitting on what he's doing at all. I just want to call out the difference between when people say because I've talked to bands. I'm a booking agent. I own a booking agency. I've been booking shows and promoting shows and buying shows since I was in college. For 20 some years. And for the last 3 years, I've owned my own booking agency in Los Angeles. And so this is what I do. And I hear a lot of bands, well, we played out of town. We played at Miami Takeover. We played in Puerto Rico. We did. And I'm like, it's when you're talking about playing in another city, you're talking about building up a fan base in that city, not just
Exactly.
taking
Exactly.
everybody from your own city and taking a trip there. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to understand it. That doesn't mean that a promoter in Miami that's just from Miami is going to be like, oh, well, let me bring this band back because they just did the Miami takeover.
Yeah.
Another Miami takeover is a bunch of DC people, which is great. It's just not the same thing. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with it, shitting on it. It's just not the same thing as going on tour and building up
And
other
it's
markets.
it's the same way though. And actually, when you go to another city, you have to be versatile enough to adjust to that crowd. You can't force them to like what you're playing. If they're not used to it. If they're not used to that beat that you're playing, and they used to dancing at a faster tempo, you got to play that faster tempo. You have to make that adjustment. because there's nothing like you going out of town and people sitting down and watching you play, and you'll never go back there again.
Well, I would only slightly disagree with that, only because I think that, like, I took Mambo Sauce all over the place. They went on tour. They went on a national tour after I left, but it was something that I was already working on before I left. And everywhere we went, people were partying to the beat, the go-go beat. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but there were songs over top of the beat. It wasn't just cranking a socket for 40 minutes and yelling people's names,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
is beautiful
They
and
were
is part
they
of
were
our culture.
they were
But
playing
it's
they were playing music.
right, yeah.
Right.
And so I think that,
And
and again,
I
oh, go
don't know
ahead.
if you remember this, but it was one of them times I was doing sound, and I think it was
Mhm.
at the Star. I don't know what the
DC.
name of it is now, the DC Star,
Echo
and
is Echo now, yeah.
okay, and Mama Sauce was playing. This is the first time I'd ever heard y'all, and I was doing sound. I had set up sound for y'all, and I don't know if you remember that. I pulled you to the side. I said, "Man, you need to get these boys out of the city because they was opening up for TCB or somebody." They was
Hmm.
opening up for somebody. I said, "Man, these boys don't belong on this show, man. You need to get these boys out of the city because they're a national act. They're a
Yeah.
national go-go act, and they should
And
be
I
on
was
the road."
Yeah, well, that's why I was asking you the questions I was asking you earlier, because that was the point. That's why I created I didn't create Mambo Sauce to be a local band. I created Mambo Sauce to be a national and international band that played go-go. And there's a difference, and that's why I was asking about what because that's just something that I've learned that I didn't know, because I'm
Yeah,
44, older than some people, but younger than a lot of the people that I've interviewed on this show. And so I didn't know because I
yeah,
wasn't there.
yeah.
I just assumed that when Marissa started, or when Trouble Funk started, when EU started, that they were trying to be Earth, Wind and Fire or Cameo or something, and it just didn't happen because people didn't understand the beat. But what I learned is that most of those bands just started playing to be local top 40 bands and just overachieved, which to me makes it even more magical that y'all weren't even trying,
No, we
and you
wasn't.
still fucked
We
the
wasn't
world
really
up.
trying. We wasn't really trying. It's just something that happened, and I, and I,
So
and
imagine
I
the
still
pride.
believe that God put us in that position to make that happen when it happened. And it was a change in the music industry because uh, go-go had become it went around the world. And like I said, that first song, Straight Up on Go-Go Sound. We had our phone number on it, and one of the guys from Palmer Park was in the service, and he went over he was in the service over in Germany, and he was in the nightclub, and he gave the record to the DJ, said, "Man, put this on, man," and when he put it on, the next day the club owner called us, and that's when we started going overseas. But
Wow.
the thing is, with DC, man, you got to get your business mind together, man. Let me tell you, man, I went to Germany in 1990. Trouble Funk was they were kind of like on a lull, and I asked them, I said, "Man, y'all doing anything for the next 2 months?" It's like, "No, we ain't got nothing happening." I said, "Okay, well, I got a call from a guy in Germany to go on tour. I'm gone." So I went on tour with this guy, Stephen Rimler. Stephen Rimler was the lead singer with Trio. Um, he had this big song in the '80s called "Da Da Da." It
Hmm.
sold like 13 million copies, and it's still selling. And this is from the
Hmm.
'80s, And
Hmm.
this guy was a German, big German artist, man. I went on tour with him, um, and like I said, when I got there, we sat down and talked. And first thing they did was they gave me 4,000 marks pre-dim. They put that in my hand, 4,000 marks pre-dim. You know, they said we're gonna pay you $250 for each rehearsal, 30 days of rehearsal, 2 months on tour, $500 a show. You know, I said, okay, well, here's my bank information. Send all that money to my bank, and I'll just live on my per diem, and they had their business together, and I had to worry about nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I was really surprised, because I ain't never been paid to rehearse. Never.
Yeah, right. That's still a foreign concept to
I've
me.
never
I've
been
never
paid to
been.
rehearse. And
I still haven't
and I
to
got
this day.
paid $250 per rehearsal. We rehearsed twice a day because we rehearsed on a then he was making an album. We worked
Hmm.
on the album in the morning, then we worked on the show in the evening. So that was $500 a day for rehearsals, and then plus I got paid the union wage for recording the album, and nothing you had to worry about, because it was all business was taken care of, and everything they talked about was business. Everything you did, you had to worry about nothing. You got paid for it.
Well, let me ask you a question because this is something that I sort of got into it with Stomp about last time because I don't disagree with you at all. However, my personal opinion is that this I feel like we make this we make a what's the word I'm looking for? We make a connection between business being taken care of and I'm getting paid a lot of money. Um, I don't necessarily see those things as the same thing. I see them as mutually exclusive. One is a byproduct of the other. You know what I mean? And so the only reason I bring this up is because I feel like GoGo has sort of become so transactional that and so driven by the what I call the hired gun professional musician mentality, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just different than
Yes, it
and
is.
no, no, I don't think it is because if you're a professional musician and that's your job to get to show up, play music, and get paid for it, then that's great. But just understand that that's totally different. For like you going on tour with this guy is a totally different animal than you being a part of Trouble Funk, which is the artist. You know
Right.
what I mean? And to me, there's a lot of confusion in the go-go community around that concept. People think that they're supposed to get paid like a professional musician slash hired gun, but also get all of the benefits and have none of the risk of being the artist. And there's a separation between those two things that I think has gotten lost over the years. And I think it's because a lot of the preeminent musicians in our not yourself, of course, but it just brought it up because of the story you told. A lot of the preeminent musicians in our genre, in our culture, have gone on to play with you know national artists, right?
Right.
On tour, go on tour with people because we have the best musicians, in my opinion. And then they come back with these stories similar to the one that you just told, which I know is not the point you were trying to make, but other people I have heard try to make this point as well. I'm getting taken care of, like this is how it's supposed to go, and I joined this go-go band with you, and I should be treated the same way as I'm treated in this go-go band that we started together and we're all a part of as I am when I'm on tour with this artist who's I'm literally just an employee. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
and I don't that one thing is better than the other. One is not right, one is not wrong. They're just different, and I don't know that anybody's really having enough of a discussion about why those two things are different and how they're different. And I think that has a lot to do with, again, with the point of the show, to me, connecting the dots between why is this amazing, magical music that you guys didn't even really have to try to be international celebrities and sample 300 times but it still happened
It happened.
because it's great. And the fact that Lil Yachty is probably making more money than every single go-go musician ever that's even still alive is making all put together. That shit makes me mad, and I don't blame it on Little Yachty. I blame it on the fact that we have sort of perpetuated these, and I don't mean this. I know you just told the story, and I don't mean to seem like I'm talking to you because I know you were making a different point, but
Mhm.
your point speaks to and I know you know the difference, but other people don't know the difference.
Yeah,
They
but I
see
knew the
those.
difference. I knew that whenever I came back here, not to expect that. And
Right,
whenever I left from over there, that stayed over there. I knew when I
right,
came back here, I was right back where I started. It
right,
wasn't going to be no different. And I didn't expect to be different because it
right,
wasn't set up that way here, and it's not set up that way here. Because it's just not like that. You know,
right. But even using the example, what was the guy's name again? The
Steph
guy,
Stephen Rimler,
Stephen
Steph,
Rimler.
right? He was the
So,
lead singer with Trio, and like I said, the biggest song was Da 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 Da, and he made
right,
that
so
song with a little teeny Casio keyboard, and that joint sold 13 million copies.
right, but so two things that I take from that. One, it was a song, and
Yeah,
a great song, which is the basis of everything. You could throw everything else we've said in this whole conversation away, as long as you understand. Start with a great song
great
first.
song.
Yeah, but then the second thing is that presumably, and I don't know the story of Trio or Stephen Rimler, but I would assume that they took a lot of risk. They probably played a lot of free shows. They did a lot of free shit. They did a lot of stuff they probably didn't want to do in order to get to the point where they could sell 13 million records. They weren't just getting $150 every single time they made a move when they were building that up. And that's the part that concerns me, is that in go-go we seem to think that every time I step out of the house, somebody's supposed to hand me an envelope. And while that's cool, if you're a professional musician, that's cool. But if you really say what you, or if you really want what you say you want, not you, I'm talking about go-go as a whole, you really want what you say you want, you have to understand that in order for go-go to be on a higher level, we have to start thinking like artists instead of like hired musicians. And artists are entrepreneurs. Art just this is what I agree with you on, is the business part. Artists own their own business. Hired musicians are employees. There's a totally different
Different thing,
mindset,
right?
strategy, and way of doing things. But what I see time and time again in go-go is that we operate like employees, but we want the results of the business owner, and it doesn't work that
It
way.
doesn't work
So
like that. Yeah,
yeah, so I did that long, huge roll around that seemed like I was disagreeing with you, but I was really agreeing with you
yeah.
in that the having the business right
Business,
and understanding the business is it. Like if you could boil everything down about go-go and how it can move forward, it comes down to two things, and you said them both. One is start with a great song, and two is have the business together.
right,
And but
right,
having business together does not mean that everybody's making money from the very first second that you
right,
start doing it.
right.
You know, and that's where I think we get it wrong.
And a great song, it all comes along with being not only the lyrics and everything, but the song has to be in the right key. If you put
Hmm.
it, you put a song in the right key, it'll sell from the very first note. And,
Yep.
and that's important. It's really, really important. If you're a songwriter and you got an infant child, not necessarily infant, a 1 or 2 year old child, you know, um, and you put a song on and you catch that baby's attention, it's in the right key, you know, because you can always notice that if you got, like I said, if you got an infant child, he may be in the back room of the house. If one of those commercials come on that got that right key, he'll come from
Yep.
wherever he is and stand in front of that TV and rock to that song. And when that song
Yep.
is off, he gone. It's in the right key, and that makes a
Well,
big
I think it's
difference.
like 80 or 90% or something. I forget the exact percentage, but it's a huge percentage of every hit song is the same three chords in the same key.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
So
do the same thing whenever I'm writing, whenever I'm putting my stuff together on my garage band. I do the same thing. and I noticed that I've started gravitating to A minor because A minor sounds, I don't know, it just sounds so good to me. Whenever I start
Mhm.
playing something and I switch around the keys, when I come back to A minor, it just, I don't know, it just does something to me. So it's the right key for me. And I'm not a vocalist or anything, but that A minor just sounds good to my ear. So
Well, it's also better to write songs in A minor because really A minor is also C major and it's all white keys. You don't even have to mess around with the black
yeah,
keys or
yeah,
anything. Like it's simple. Just keep it
yeah,
all on the white keys. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What else do I have to ask you? What would you do? Well, oh yeah, no. There's one thing I wanted to ask you. So, what was the sticking on this business point? How was the structure of Trouble Funk? What was the business structure? Was every single person in the band like an equal member of the band? I know if I remember correctly, like there were certain people that wrote and certain people that didn't. But in terms of like decision making and things along that line, how did
No,
that work?
you had the principal members, like Tony Taylor, myself, and James Avery.
Hmm.
We were the principal members of the band. Uh, Actually, it was like Tony Taylor and James. Because I had a job. And I
Mm.
always worked. So I was never at none of the business meetings. Because I worked every day. So I was never there. But they handled all the business. After we left Rio, they handled all of the business. So they did all the making decisions and everything. What went on with the band. Like I said, I was working. I was driving tractor trailer with Dodge Drug. I was doing that and playing. It was many nights, man. I come leave the Club LeBron and go right to Dodge Drug and go. Because I started work at 5 in the morning. To 2 in the afternoon. So it was many nights I got off stage, went right to work. And I did that, man. For many
How did
years.
how did you manage that with playing in Japan and
Oh well, when
Germany?
when I went on when I went to Germany, I had took a leave of absence. You know,
Okay.
um, I when we went on tour, um, I just took a leave of absence. And music was, even though uh, I wasn't looking for the money end of the music, it was always first. Money, music was always first with me. No matter what, no matter what I was doing, if somebody called and said, "Man, we got a gig," I was gone. If I was with my girl, somebody said, "Hey," somebody called and said, "Man, we got a gig." Hey, baby, I gotta go. She'd be mad, but hey, I gotta go. I was doing this when I met you. I gotta go. But I
Much to
told my
my wife,
boss the same thing. Told my boss the
the same.
same thing. We getting
Yeah.
ready to go on tour. I need to take a leave of absence. I'm just letting you know that I've been gone for a while. You know, it don't matter whether you say I can go or not. I'm gone. And I'll
Yeah.
see you when I get back. If I can't get a leave of absence, then I'm gonna have to resign. But
Yeah.
I'm taking the relay. I'm gone. It really didn't matter. Because music was that important to me. You know,
I left two jobs. I left working at Coca-Cola and I left working at WPGC both for Mama Sauce because I needed to focus on the band first. So I definitely feel you on that. Always been the same way. And
yeah,
much to my wife's chagrin, you know, same thing. So
yeah.
well let me ask you this. When you because there's a legend, um, or two legends. One surrounding you guys and one surrounding EU, which are widely told throughout the go-go community. That when you guys went on tour, it impacted you negatively at home. When you came back, the crowd was gone. People said you had sold out. Whatever it was. What was your recollection of that time?
Yeah, I remember all of that. What people were saying. But we were doing what we had to do at the time. We had to. Uh, and in my opinion, we were taking uh, the DC sound around the world.
Yep.
And that's what I was thinking. We wasn't selling out. We was doing what we had to do. You know,
Mhm.
we was kind of like the ambassadors. Because we was the first group to go over there to do that. Um,
Right.
we wasn't selling out. Exactly. We wasn't doing that. We was going to to do what we do, but we was going to see how what was happening in the world. Because
Right.
everywhere you go, you go into a culture shock. You see something different, things that you never seen before, and you got to experience that. Especially when you're young. You got to experience that. So at that time, we was all young. So well, I wasn't.
Mhm.
I wasn't young. They was all young. I was 10 years older than everybody.
T-Bone, you got a mohawk. You're still young. It doesn't
Yeah, I'm still young
matter.
at heart. I'm 72. I'm going on 72 years old. Yeah, but back then I was like 12 years older than everybody in the band.
I
And I
know.
had done all that stuff. I had been playing almost 10 years before everybody in the band. I had been on stage. I've been on
Right.
stage 50 plus years. I've been doing this a long time, man. I've seen a lot. I've done a lot.
Well, so people were really saying. I think that's so silly. Like it just
Yeah,
makes no sense. How are you selling out if you're if you're giving go-go to the rest of the world? How is that selling out? Like I don't even understand.
but
But people,
it's just like you 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 leaving home and going somewhere else to do what you did at home, um, and people don't look at it that way that you're going to be an ambassador or whatever. They looking at it as you leaving them. You know,
right,
they're gonna miss your sound. Which is
right,
something that you had. They've been following you for all this time, and then you just up and go. And that's how they look at it. It's just like you got kids, and all of a sudden you just leave your kids. It's the
right,
same
right,
thing. They just don't accept it well. Because you left. You know, with no explanation. And then you have to tell them, hey, we're going to do this and going that. We're going on tour. This is what
mhm,
bands do.
right,
When you get to a certain level, and when you get to a certain level, you gravitate, you move on, you do something different. And it
right,
was a blessing to me because I didn't have to see them kids every day. And,
right,
it gets like that with me. If I keep
yeah,
doing the same thing over and over, and driving Lyft now is starting to get like that because I see the same people all the time and going to the same
right,
places. So and it gets to you. But I didn't have to see them same people at every show doing the same thing every damn night. So
right,
it was really a blessing to me to be going on tour to get away from that, and to see
right,
something different, and to see how other people live, because you really get to understand how the world works, man, when you go to different places, man, and see how other things work. And then once you go overseas and see how people live overseas, you'd be glad as shit to get back here. Believe me, you do. You'd be glad to get back, man, because in some places, man, you go, man, it's just not the same, man. It's just not the same. It's not the same, man.
right.
We on the road, man. We stop in the bathroom, man, and you go in the bathroom and on the road, man. There's a hole in the ground with two footprints. You got to
Yep,
squat over this hole to use the bathroom, man.
yep,
That kind of stuff, man. You be like,
yep,
man, no doors on the stalls, none of that stuff, man.
yeah,
Stuff that you,
yeah. No,
yeah,
yeah. I
stuff
don't
that you
remember where it
used
was.
to here, which is so little, but it's a luxury actually, so
Yeah, 100%.
it's a
I can't
luxury
remember
actually.
somewhere where there was no doors on the stalls. I can't remember where it was, but I definitely remember that, and it was yeah, it was pretty
But
unnerving.
it was a big thing for me though when I went in that bathroom and I saw that hole in the floor and them two footprints. It was a big thing. The big thing for me, man. Because I was a big guy. Man,
Yeah,
I can't squat down and use this thing. I need something to sit on. So from then on,
right,
I watch what I ate. So how you on
right,
the
right.
road. So
Well,
you
let me
have to go. You have to go and discover the world, man. You really do, man.
well, let me. So part of the reason I bring this up is because those two stories have been used uh, multiple times for me as a sort of a way to dissuade go-go bands from shooting for something bigger, because it's like, well, if you get big and you go on tour and you do Trouble Funk at EU, then you're gonna lose your crowd at home. And I always thought, I'm interested to hear you, or I was interested, excuse me, to hear you say that people did say you sold out, because I thought that maybe, because you know as well as I do, every band from Chuck Brown to Backyard to Junkyard to Northeast Groovers or whoever goes like this.
Yeah,
Couple years you're hot, couple years you're cold, couple years you're hot, couple
yeah.
years you're cold. So my thing was, is it possible that maybe when y'all came back from tour, y'all were just in a little cold streak and then came back up again, just like, and it would have
No,
happened whether.
it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't like that at
Okay.
all. When we came back, it was just like we had to start all over again because the crowd was totally gone. And uh, the only people that were really there were your true fan. People
Mhm.
that they didn't care. They were glad you were gone. They was the only people that was there. But the people that flip flopped anyway, because it was
Right,
always a time in DC that whoever had the record out was the lead band. And it was
right, right.
always between Rare Essence because Chuck was gone. So when
Mhm.
Chuck left the city, it was Rare Essence, Trouble Funk, and EU. And whoever
Mhm.
among those three that had the record out had the crowd. The
Right,
people without, except for your people, your true people. But those people that go to all the go-go's, those people that just go, they don't care. They just go. You know,
right.
they, they follow the group that had the record out. And it was a time, man, that when I was doing sound out there, um, I ran into this guy that was talking about the that club on 450, Fontaine Blue.
Uh-huh.
And he
Uh-huh.
was talking about Fontaine Blue, man. He said, man, I was in Fontaine Blue last night. Man, there was so many people in there, man, you could barely get in there. I said, who was playing? He said, you know what, man, I don't even know. I was just there. And he didn't know who was there, but it was the Wednesday night, and it was the night that man, I can't even think of who it was. I think it was Roy Emmons or somebody that was always in there. Somebody was always in there on Wednesday night, but he
Mhm.
didn't know who was there. So he was one of those people that followed the crowd. He didn't care what
Yep.
was going on in there. He probably didn't even
Yep.
hear the band. And there was a
Yep.
lot of people like that. You know,
Yep.
whoever had the hottest song out, or whoever had the song out, period. You know,
It was
they
about
always had the best crowd.
party. Yeah, it's about the party, not necessarily about
Exactly.
the
That's
band.
why I said about the business. It's
Yep.
not it's go go is a party thing. It's not a business. It's a party. And
Right.
that's how everybody think. Everybody thinks about the
Yep.
party, and that's why all the songs are about partying. And they're not about uh, positive things. You know, because everybody think
Right.
that way. Everybody's thinking party.
Yeah. Right. Well, do you think do you think that can ever change, or do you think it's just go-go is just what it is and it's just never going to change?
And I hate to say that it is what it really is. But um, somebody has got to really realize, that you standing still. I mean, go-go music is now the national sound of Washington D.C. It's been a
Hmm.
pandemic. It's been a pandemic. Everybody's been in the house. It should be so many songs. You know what I'm saying? There should be so much music on the street right now because everybody's
Yep.
been locked in. It should be
Yep.
this city should be flooded with brand new stuff.
Yep.
No matter
Yep.
what it is, it should be flooded. Because
Yep.
you've been in the house. You should have been creating. Not to say that they haven't been. But every I'm on Facebook all day whenever I'm not out, and I'll be looking at clips, and I hear the same thing. I see the same thing, and it's the same way when 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 the old groups that from back in the day when they had a reunion, they come back out, they doing the same thing. They come back out and do the same thing. They even doing the same old steps. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You got to do
Yeah.
something new. You play your old classic stuff, but when you're doing a reunion or whatever, you need to introduce something new, something new.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do nothing but turn around and don't look at the crowd, it got to be something new. You got to do
Right.
something different than what you've been doing for 40 years. I mean, you've been playing in the city for 40 years, and you've been doing the same stuff that you've been doing for 40 years, the same songs, you know. It's the same way with those CDs that they put out. Everybody put out a CD, but it's the same show. How
Right.
you how you, how you sell a show that you just did 2 weeks ago, and it's the same show in the same order? You know,
Right. Right.
how can you sell that? How can you sell that?
Well, let me ask you a question because obviously so my I've always since we've known each other been a proponent of trying to expand the sound and the culture of go-go outside of the DMV. But to me, within the last uh, five, maybe 5 to 10 years, it's become even more pronounced of an issue for me because, it really highlighted. I interviewed Chris Richard from the Washington Post on here, who he's a big go-go fan and always been a friend, and he mentioned something. He was talking about how beautiful the culture of go-go is, that it's this tradition that's passed down from generation to generation to generation. And my thing is, within the last 5 to 10 years, that generation doesn't care about go-go anymore. The generation of the age when I got into go-go, 14, 15 years old, they could give, that's my dad's, that's my
Yeah,
uncle, that's
yeah,
my
exactly.
grandfather. They don't care. So and I know that the government and people like Ron Moulton and Cato, and guys are doing a great job of preserving the legacy of what came before. And but my concern is that go-go becomes, and this is not a dig against the museum because I think it's amazing and fabulous and I support it 100%. But I'm concerned that go-go becomes a museum piece. And I mean, this is of course just my opinion. That's not what I want to see for go-go. I don't want it to just become this cool local thing that happened a while ago, and now we just go look at it in a museum and we watch documentaries about it and whatever. I want it to be on, I mean, I don't even want to say TV because TV is not even, it's really more about Instagram and social media and YouTube and TikTok now,
Yeah, yeah.
as far as the younger generation is concerned. That's where I want to see it live. But I don't, so just in trying to figure out ways to make that happen and think of different things. My question to you, as an originator of the sound, do you think that being, let me think how to phrase this. I don't know. I've asked this question almost every show. I can't think of how to phrase it now. But does being a go-go artist require being a band? Like, do you have to have a full band to be go-go?
Uh, in my opinion, yeah, I think you do. You know,
Well, let me
because
clarify what I'm saying, because what I mean is, I don't mean do you record with the band or perform with the band. I mean, does it have to be the artist is the band, like the whole band is the artist, like Confunction or Cameo or Earth, Wind and Fire or something like that? Or can it be a solo artist? That's the name
oh
of the
yeah,
solo.
yeah, it can
Okay.
be that. It can be that. And what makes it what makes it go go is the music that you're playing. It's
Right.
not the artist; it's the music that you're playing. It can be
Mhm.
that. It can be named whatever you want to name it. It can be one particular person. It can be that one particular person as long as you're playing um, go-go music. and you're playing your original music, you know.
Hmm.
And not to take nothing away from top 40, you know, you can take top 40 music and turn it into what you want it to be, you know. You got to learn the song first before you change it, you know, and you can do that, you know. But the thing is, you know, you have to educate the people in the city, man. You know that what it takes to be a go-go artist and what it takes, you know, sometimes you got to grow, you know, and the
Yeah.
only way you're gonna grow, the only way you're gonna grow is to leave home. You know, when you got
Hmm.
a certain age, you left your mom's house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you can see what it was like when she said, "No, you can't have this because I'm trying to do this." You know, and when you get out there on your own, you understand why she was saying all of that. You know, and you got to do that. You know, you got to venture out. You know, and you got to leave DC, you know, not to make it big, you know, you ain't not necessarily that, but you gotta leave DC to open your mind, you know, because you gotta go. Like I said, you gotta see how other people live, man. You gotta see that, you know. You need to see what's happening everywhere else, you know. But you know,
Hmm.
DC, like in my mind, you know, DC go-go has always been the official sound of DC. You know, since
Yeah.
it started, it has always, in my mind, you know, it didn't. To me, it didn't take no bill to say that the go-go was the
For sure.
official sound of DC because in my mind, it always was from the moment that I
Yeah.
was playing it, and even from the moment that I started playing it, I hated it. You know, I ain't want to play no go-go.
Really?
Anyway, yeah,
That's
I didn't want to play go-go because it you know, like coming from improvs and jazz and all that stuff, you know, it limited me. You know, it put me in a pocket, you know, and it it kind of staggered me. You know, it put me in a place I didn't want to be. But when it took me around the world 5 times, I had a different opinion of it. You know, I said, yeah, go-go is the shit. You know,
well, that's important, but that
you
goes
know,
back to what we were talking about earlier.
and
Is that
and it's what I always wanted to do was to be somebody, you know, and it just so happened that it was, you know, and not to say that I'm, you know, I'm all that, you know, because I'm not, you know,
you are?
I'm just somebody that was in the right place at the right time, you know, and I helped create a sound, you know, uh, I played what I felt. You know, I played what I felt, man. It was a minute night, man. I came home, man, and on my answering machine, man, motherfuckers in the band, excuse me, people in the band was playing. And on my
Mhm.
answering machine was Jungle Boogie playing. You know, Jungle Boogie playing his style playing. You know, and I go back to rehearsal. And say, man, y'all stop putting that shit on my phone. I'm not gonna play like that. You know, I don't play like that. You know, if y'all want
Uh,
somebody to play like that, hire somebody, man. I'm not, you know, I got a different style, man. You know, and for real, man. I think my style took Trouble Funk where they were at, you know, because it was different. It was
I
different, and it made Trouble sound totally different from everybody else. And my sound was more mainstream, you know, and people was used to hearing what I was doing. You know, so
hmm
it wasn't just that peak pop poo pop peak pop. And if you listen to
Yep.
any Trouble Funk song, uh, the percussion, you know, it's not always one beat in the song. You know, when the music changed, the percussion changed. You know, there ain't nothing
Yeah.
forced in that stuff. You know, and it's
Right.
the only time that I really and actually I really created uh a sound was a straight up from go-go sound because I instead of playing conga drums all the time, I started playing the roller toms, and it was certain songs that we was playing that I played roller toms on, and we were, like I said, we was recording that live, you know, and a lot of times I didn't have time to go from the Rototom to the Congo, and we was recording it live, and it was a one shot thing, you know. So I
Right.
stayed on
Right.
the Rototom, and when I stayed on the Rototom, I created the Congo beat on the Rototom, and it worked, and
Right.
that's when I started, and that changed the whole sound, you know, because of the Rototoms and all the way through that song, you know, it was the Rototom, but I was playing Congo parts. But when we went back into the studio to overdub, then I put Congo parts in certain places, you know, but the Rototom stayed there because the Rototoms are what made it hot, and I was playing Congo parts on the Rototom instead of playing the Congo. I mean Rototom parts on the Congos on the Rototom.
Sounds right. Well, we got a question from the audience from my man Chris Birch from Create DC, and it sort of segues into my last question. So his question is, what else would you have done before Trouble? Well, I guess really before Triple Threat. I know jazz, etc. But aside from music, what else did you want to do? He wants to know.
Um, well, actually, I did. I wanted to be a on the road truck driver. That's what I wanted to be.
Oh,
Uh,
that's what you wanted to do, and that's what you
right,
did.
right,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I did that. It was the things that when you're growing up, man. It's certain things that you say you're going to do, and you eventually do them. It's the same way that I made that statement. I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I'm gonna be somebody. And I
Yep.
I did that. I became somebody, and it wasn't all on me. It just happened. It wasn't
Right.
something that I was striving for. It was in my mind, but I wasn't pushing to do that, because I
Right.
was still working a job and playing on the weekend or, every night or whatever, but it wasn't something that I was really pushing myself to do, but it happened. It's just like on driving the truck for tractor trailer for Dodge Road, I did that.
I would say that that's one of my goals is because I've interviewed you, I've interviewed Donnell Floyd. I'm sure other people that I can't remember now, but I definitely remember you, Donnell Floyd, and 32 are the three that I remember that have all said that you had jobs the entire time you were in bands.
Yeah,
And to me, that is what infuriates me because I feel like the music that y'all created is so magical and so influential to every other form of popular American music that we enjoy today. Well, maybe not every other form, but at least hip hop, which has permeated into all other genres of music as well. So it's a step down the line that it infuriates me that some of the most legendary people within our genre that have influenced other people, other musicians of serious magnitude have still had to work
yeah.
full-time jobs this whole time. And maybe some people wanted to. I'm not saying that, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would assume that if some of the people in Gogo had the option to just do music full time and not work a job, they probably would do that. I mean, there's a lot of logistical reasons that happens, of course, because of the size of the band.
Yeah.
So regardless
But
of how much money comes in, when you got to split it up between 14 people, it's never going to be enough to go around. But
But if I
you
had
know,
felt that, that what Trouble was doing every night, would support me, then I would have did that, But the money that I made with Trouble, that money that was pocket money. I paid all my bills with what the money I made on my job. That
right.
money. I mean, it was good money. Don't get me wrong, it was good money. But
Mhm.
I didn't look for that to pay no bills with. Because it was always hit or miss. It wasn't nothing
Right.
but I always knew I had every 2 weeks I had this lump coming. So
Right.
and most important thing back then for me was my rent and my car. And
Right.
food. So. That was the most important thing for me, and was to get that
Right.
done, So that was the reason why I kept a job.
For sure. For sure. Well, yeah. I mean, it just to me, I like, not everybody needs to be a rich, famous, you know, pop star, rock star, Jay Z, Beyonce, or whatever. But especially like me living out here in California now, I can drive down the street and in LA and see four Lamborghinis and 20 Teslas and a couple McLarens and a bunch of million, two, three, four. Well, a million is normal out here, but 3, 4, $5 million homes. And I guarantee you that most of the people driving those cars and living in those homes have not had the impact on popular music that you had.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's what burns me up. And I want to change that. And I don't want to place, like, I feel like go-go as a whole in the way that we operate, um like, we got to take some of the blame, but not all of it. You know what I mean? And I don't even want to say blame because there's not really blame to go around. That's the wrong term. But I'm just saying I want to see us in a situation where people like yourself, and anybody and everybody that I've interviewed on this show, or anybody that plays in a band. I don't think every single person puts in the work and has the influence and deserves to be a millionaire or whatever. But you guys in Trouble Funk literally changed music, not just go-go, but popular music. Like, you've been sampled like what, 300
Three.
sometimes
Yeah.
by every
Yeah.
major artist ever.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So to me, that's a different level of influence that I feel has not been rewarded in the
Right.
way that I think it should be rewarded, and that pisses me off, and I
And
want to
and
I want
and
to
a lot of the
change.
groups that a lot of the groups that we play with, punk rock groups, I recorded with a lot of those groups. I recorded with Fishbone. I
Yeah,
really got a culture shock with Fishbone because it was one of the first time I went to California because we had been over there playing. But when I came back over to record the album with them, um, they took me and said, "Man, we're going to Hollywood, man." They took me to Hollywood, and I was like, "Man, where y'all taking me?" They said, "Man, well, this ain't the real Hollywood. This is the hood Hollywood." Man. And they took me in this back road, man, looking like Southeast DC, the bad part of
yeah,
South. And I was like, "Man, this ain't California." I couldn't believe that, man. Especially Hollywood, and it's right over there right over there by the sign. And that was
yeah.
really I
Hollywood
couldn't
is
believe that.
not really that fancy. Yeah, certain parts are, but not all of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hollywood is not that fancy. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, real quick, because I do have one last question that I want to ask you. That's sort of important, but real quick, while you brought up Fishbone, because I wanted to talk about that. Can you list off real quick uh, some of the bands that you guys have played with along the way? Because it includes some of the biggest bands ever
yeah.
and artists.
We played with actually we toured with Fishbone, um, Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Big Boys, uh, Limbo Maniacs, a lot of those punk rock groups. At one time it was just Trouble Funk, Fishbone, and Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Yep.
and that
And
was a
who was the
hot
headline?
tour. Um, I think we kind of switched. I think we kind of switched it. Well, actually, I think Fishbone. No, Chili Peppers. Chili Peppers was the headlines because I always remember we played in the middle uh, because every
Gotcha.
time we came off stage, they came on. We ended with "Don't Touch That Stereo,"
Right.
don't, and they would come on with that. They'd
Oh,
come on
okay.
with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
they'd
I
come on with
thought
that.
Tony told me that they opened for y'all, but I guess, I mean, still, it's still amazing
Yeah, well,
regardless.
some shows they did open for us. But
Shows up.
it's just like at one time, they were all fans. They're still fans. But the first
Right.
time we went to L.A., uh, we played at one of them ballrooms downtown, and when we pulled up on the bus, Fishbone was outside. They was
Uh,
trying to meet us. And I
right.
had never
Right.
heard of Fishbone. But I got to know them real well, man. And they called me over to do that album, man, and I had a ball with them doing that album, man. And
Yeah, I saw that the first time I lived out here. I saw them perform at Amoeba Records on Sunset when I lived out here in the early 2000s. Yeah, which is later on, obviously, but yeah, they were an amazing band.
yeah, they really good, man. And
Yeah.
like I said, the Big Boys, Minor Threat, a lot of the punk rocks, we did a lot of shows with a lot of punk rocks. Uh,
How was that? Because an average person who doesn't understand the dynamic of the DC hardcore scene and Minor Threat, and Mackay and those guys in Trouble. Like, you would hear a Trouble Funk song and you would hear a Minor Threat song, and you wouldn't ever in your life think that those two bands would play together.
But but
How did that?
Trouble Funk at that time, they were considered a funk band, and we were kind of like underground, which was
Mhm.
like all the punk rockers. They were underground, Where those places that we played at, it was completely white audience. A lot of those places it was white, you know, and we had white following, big white following. They followed us everywhere. As a matter of fact, we was in Germany one time. I think we was playing in Germany, and I think we had uh, 2 weeks ago we had played in Chicago, and then we went overseas over to Germany, and some kids from Chicago were over in Germany, and they said we just saw y'all last week at Chicago. We said
Wow.
what y'all doing following us around like this? Oh, we do this all the time, and we had a big,
Yeah.
like I said, a big following, and overseas, most of the people overseas, everybody over there, they were white. We had a big white following. Uh, because
What?
Trouble Funk was underground.
Well, let me ask you this, because that's something that I spoke with. I had Black Boo from Almost Sauce on here last week or the week before, and I think some people have taken out of context. I've mentioned that I feel like traditional go-go has a bigger following of white people, or like not necessarily a bigger following, but resonates more live with white people. And I think people took that to say that I'm saying, and obviously because I'm white, maybe that you should make go-go for white people, which is not what
No,
I'm
it's
saying at
not
all.
that. It's
Yeah, that's not what I'm
actually
saying.
it's actually it's the feel, and you can't hear it on record, but if you in arena when there's a go-go band playing, you know, eventually 10, 15 minutes after this starts, you know, and it's the first time you've heard it, you're gonna be out of control because of
Yep,
the drive and what's all the stuff that's going on. It's
yep,
the whole audience. It moves around. It may start out slow, but eventually it's just like spiritual. When it hits you, it got you. And once it gets you, hey, you can't keep still. And
yep,
you're gonna remember that. Say, man. And I had people overseas in London say, when we finished in London, it was like, man, never heard nothing like this before. It was the first time people had ever heard go-go. And what I think it
yep,
really was the fact that we played 2 hours straight without stopping, and
yep,
the whole time it was driving. And
yep,
that's what I think it was that really got to the people was that they heard music for 2 hours and nobody talked to them, nobody stopped and
right,
talked to them. It was a
right,
party for 2 hours straight. And
yep,
and that's what really got them. That what got the white kids because they could cut up, they could do what they want to do for 2 hours straight. And that's
yeah.
how it was.
Well, it's funny because I have this weird universe connection with Trouble Funk, because I started playing go-go when I was 15 or so. I went to, or I guess like 14, 15. I went to college in Montana where my father was a professor at 17. And I was on the college radio station, and they had a whole room full of vinyl. Now, keep in mind, this is Bozeman, Montana. Everybody's white.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a couple of black dudes that like play on the basketball team or something, but that's it, right? I'm going through all of these records, and what do I find but a Trouble Funk record? So, of course, and so I had a radio show and I played go-go all the time on the show. Of course, I played you guys or whatever. But then when I moved to California, or back to California again this last time, 2015, I started booking for Trouble Funk, and for a little while. And at that time, Tony invited me to come to see you. You didn't come this time. I think it was Larry on the Congress. Uh, to see them perform at the Cal Jam, which was like the pre night of the uh, it's Foo. Basically, it was Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl's
Right. Yeah.
festival he does every year. So it's Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age, all these rock and punk bands or whatever. And the night before was Trouble Funk and a Police tribute band, who I forget the name of right now. But so Tony invited me. I'm out. I'm standing 10 feet from Dave Grohl, the biggest rock star in the world, who's literally, and of course I'm watching the band, like, yeah, impressed, but at the same time, like, I've seen this before. Like, I've been doing this for 25, 30 years. It's not abnormal to me to see a band cranking. Like, it's just regular. And Dave Grohl is over here like just like freaking out, like, and like telling all his friends, like, look, watch the drummer, look, watch the drummer. Look. And I'm just like, this is just normal. Like, this is
But you
we
have
know.
to understand that Dave Grohl grew up on Trouble Funk. He's
Yep, no,
from
I
Virginia,
know.
and he was a real big fan. So
Yep, yeah.
he was always a Trouble Funk fan. And listening to him, I guess over the years, and still hearing that drive, he was really excited.
Yeah. But the funniest part though was as the show was going on, sea of white people,
Yeah.
a big banner goes up in the crowd, just like at a regular go-go, you'd be throwing your neighborhood sign up, but it's big, it's like a sheet, it's big. And guess what it says? Montana loves Trouble Funk. And I was like, the most surreal, weirdest shit that's ever happened to me in my entire. It's like full circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just great. But all right. Well, I got one final question for you. I know I kept you for a long time. We're almost
Okay, it's
coming up
cool,
on.
but
I mean, this is a normal conversation
yeah,
for
yeah,
us.
yeah. But it's something I want to say, man. Um, because I'm a humble guy, man. I don't like to really hurt nobody's feelings, But if I said anything that offended anybody, um, I'm sorry that I did it, but it was meant to be said. And I'm a type of guy. I don't blow no smoke, But if I say it, it's meant to be said, uh, I love everybody in DC, man. I love Bounce Speed. I love all them guys, man. But hey, like I said, I'm a real guy. I ain't blowing no smoke in your ass. But if I say it, it's meant to be said.
I don't think you said anything offensive at all. So I don't think you have to worry about that. Except maybe if that lady that played the keyboard in that band hears you, she might be about that. But so my final question is, if you could do it all again, what would you do differently in the context of trying to give some advice to people that are maybe, aspire to achieve the things that you have achieved?
uh, but if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change nothing. I'd do the same thing that I did. I wouldn't change anything. Um,
Amazing.
I might be a little more aggressive at doing certain things, but I wouldn't change anything. I would tell everybody, as you go along, stay humble. Keep your ego in check. You ain't got no reason to trip, man. If you have accomplished uh, a lot of things, there's no reason to trip. If you go out in your backyard and you can walk over and touch the next fence. Ain't no reason to trip. If you ain't got a Olympic-sized swimming pool, two tennis courts, two basketball courts, you ain't got no reason to trip. So you keep your ego in check, man. And just remain humble, man. What's gonna come to you, gonna come to you. God ain't gonna forget you. If you're doing the right things in your life, you're gonna get what's coming to you. So and you gotta remain humble. And in order to do that, though, you gotta remain humble. Take your time and do your thing, and create, when you have opportunity to create, you know, it's a lot of things I did when I was coming up, I, I hear a beat in my sleep and I get up and record that beat, especially if it was something different, so it's the same way. If you hear some music in your sleep, get up and put it down. Because whenever you wake up the next day, if you don't put it down, it's gone. It's gone. So my main thing
All
though
I
is
know is I'm about to start going to my washing machine and start making when I'm doing laundry.
No,
Thank
you
you, man.
can't. You gotta get one of them ringer washing machines from back in the day. You know the washing machine with the ring on top of it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
That
we got the new fancy one now. It probably
that
won't
that
be.
that one will give you a different sound. You know, you can hear certain things with it. You know, but you have to listen to the way the water splash. Also, your dishwasher. You know, but that ringer washer, it had a totally different rhythm. That joint had a rock to it.
Hey, y'all heard it here, man. T-Bone's got the secret sauce. Make sure you get the right kind of washing machine, and you can make hit records too.
Yeah, just remember, keep your pocket sounding like a machine, man. As long as it sounds like a machine, you're gonna make the people dance. You're gonna make the people dance always. You know, do what you're supposed to do on your instrument. You know, play what you're supposed to play. Drummers, if you got a percussionist in the band, let him play the percussion parts. He don't need no help. You know, he don't need you beating on the tom tom while he trying to play a part. Play your part. Play the drums. You know. Another one thing that Chuck told me was how he trained his drummers was bass drum, hi hat, and snare. That's what he
Yeah,
played. You know, and
off, yeah,
and put the cymbal way where he can't reach it. You know,
yeah,
and that's how you train it. And tell him
yeah.
you better not hit that cymbal. You better not hit that cymbal.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. T-Bone, I really appreciate you, sir. Thank you for giving me so much of your time. It's
No
always a
problem,
pleasure.
man. No problem, man.
Sure,
Yeah.
we will talk offline. This will be up on, just on YouTube, like within the next day. It usually takes like a day or so for it
Right,
to
right.
upload. And you'll be able to watch it back, or if you want to send it to anybody or whatever. This is far more amazing than I anticipated, even though I had high hopes. And I'm glad that we were able to reschedule it after the idiots
Oh yeah,
stormed the
man.
cap. So thank you again for being
All right, man.
flexible. All right,
Love it,
man.
man. Love it, man. All right.
All right, man. Love you, bro. And
Love you
thank
too,
you again
man.
for support. And we'll talk soon, man.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in to Gogotalx brought to you by Gogotalx. I'm Malachi Johns. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon below. You'll get notifications when the next shows come up. Next week, we have Tony T from formerly of TCB, now over Essence, rescheduled as well. We've had a rough few weeks here trying to keep schedules on with people, storming the Capitol and blah 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 blah. So yeah, thank you, DJ Noise. Yeah, the replay usually takes. It doesn't usually take 24 hours, but I would just say give it 24 hours just to be on the safe side. And thank you guys again for tuning in. If you feel so inclined, grab yourself a Go-Go as Fuck t-shirt. You can get them at gogotix.co /shop. That helps me to pay for this fancy little screen thing that you're watching on. So every little bit helps, and appreciate you guys so much for the support. Shows are starting to pick back up again. For better or for worse, you can find listings for every go-go happening everywhere in the world at gogotix.co. That's .co, not .com. So make sure you get that right. Gogotix.co, starting to do releases as well. Also, I have a new record label called 7070 Sound, and we just did our first release, which was Black Alley's cover version of Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. So make sure you go stream that, download that everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, everywhere. Thank you to WKYS, WPGC, as well as Crank Radio on Sirius XM for giving it a spin. And of course, my man DJ Rico over at Magic 102.3, 92.7. Thank you guys for supporting the record. Everybody, please go check it out. When you get a chance. The link is at gogotix.co as well. Also on Black Alley's Instagram page, as well as 7070 Sound. So give me a shout if you need me. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next week.